Welcome back to Always Almost There, a Goose podcast series by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brian, a.k.a. Jive Goose.
I'm Y2K Compliant Kev.
I'm D.
And I'm Neal. The five of us are here today to talk about the second half of Goose's 2024 summer tour, from Cleveland to Westville.
Yes, this is part 2, so if you did miss part 1, it is available wherever you get your podcasts to be digested in as many parts as you wish. We talked about Soulshine through CMAC, and we've got 11 shows to get into today.
I feel like I haven't seen you guys in a long time.
Too long.
I don't think we should say part anymore, because we've often talked about how people can break it into as many parts as they want. I like to think of this as a second edition.
It's part 2 for us, though.
It's also part 2 for the listeners in terms of clicking on an episode. We could also just talk about the 40-minute tweezer that they played a few days ago.
We're absolutely not doing that.
Goose?
Goose did that?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's dive into tour.
The land.
Ohio. Oh man, this one's a barn burner. So let's gear up for this one.
Strap in.
It's an absolute boat burner. So June 16th, Jacobs Pavilion at Nautica, whatever that means, in Cleveland, Ohio. We have a set 1 opener of Elizabeth, lead up into Echo of a Rose, full arrow into Green River. Who saw that one coming? Into Echo of a Rose, Your Ocean, A Sizzling Hot Time to Flee, and Butter Rum. What do folks got to say about this one, Ryan?
I'll dive right in. First of all, this is Cotter's first Elizabeth, first one since Europe. So stat there, big 23 show gap on that one. Lead up, Echo Green River was excellent. You know, they build up a nice bit of momentum for the segue. I think this is where we kind of started talking about, do they need to shoehorn in the ending of Echo? When they sandwich it like this, you know, this was the second time in a row after Omaha where it felt a little bit forced. Your Ocean, of course, with the ship's horn getting involved, always a hoot. You know, Rick was loving that. And this flea is awesome. This has one of my favorite new sounds to come out of this year so far, which is on the clav, you have heavy reverb and the envelope filter, which is that sharper wah. And Peter just gets right into that zone as this jam starts. This isn't a bracket jam by any means, but this is a really enjoyable listen. You know, you get some of that crunchy exploration and then great peak. And then Butter Rum. It's Butter Rum.
Butter Rummin'.
Yeah, butter rums are good this year.
Yeah, that's true. After they, showed back up. Yeah, I thought it was a fun set for everybody. Sort of the boat reference, the right on the river there. Cool looking amphitheater. We had some representation from our buddy Captain. Incredible with his children, so that was cool. But I thought this show was fun to listen to. Your Ocean was timely placed, and the flea. I texted you the other day about it. I was listening to it again, and it was just like, whoa, Peter.
Channel 9.
Perfect. Him driving a lot of this jam, and we would see that throughout the summer as we've talked about him being a little bit more of the support and rhythm, and then also just can take the lead. I had a fun set. Yeah.
I had forgotten about this Elizabeth, which was an incredibly long gap. Weird one, too. It doesn't really make much sense, but there it is. Interesting thing about this set is in that Time to Flee, we get a noted Camino tease.
Yes.
So for fans of Camino teases, which there are some on this podcast right now.
Me.
Yeah, I think Kev also. Wasn't there a big discussion around Camino teases in the All I Need from the Cap in 2023?
Yeah, and strangely enough, Ryan doesn't like that Camino tease, so I don't know.
But he likes this one.
He does like this one. He's very inconsistent.
Well, one of them is a Camino tease and one of them is not.
Well, at least they finally teased it. Maybe all the discussion around the All I Need Camino tease, just brought this one up. Yeah. Who knows? But hot Time to Flee.
Yeah. Anything else on first set here?
All right. So set 2, we get a hot arrow born into Sleepwalk, Santo and Johnny, into Born, Electric Avenue, White Lights, with an encore of Slow Ready. And this one, a lot of people really high in this arrow, high energy arrow that kind of reminds me of arrows from years past, which is pretty, they're good. They're really fun if you're there at the show and you're just grooving to it. And then you get big time rarity in Sleepwalk, which is awesome. And then actually a surprisingly hot jam in this Electric Avenue. It's actually really, really good. And it might be the jam highlight of the second set. other than this arrow, which is kind of crazy to say, but I think that's true.
Yeah, I think this arrow has gotten a lot of hype and a lot of love from people. And I think, honestly, in a year where there have been a number of very good arrows, and obviously the best one that we will talk about in a little while, this one felt really cool in the moment, but didn't really hold up for me on re-listen. Like I don't have this on my playlist at all, in terms of jam rankings. It's long, kind of gets out there a little bit, but doesn't really stray that far from your standard arrow stuff. I understand the hype. I understand it's a Shohio big arrow. Doesn't really leave me wanting to go back to it too many times.
You get the big arrow in the Born, which was cool to see, like you guys said. Yeah, I thought it was another fun set. Great energy, it seemed like, and some cool transitions with the surprise jam and the Electric Avenue too. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Ryan. Nothing really playlist worthy. But what's interesting is that we have been talking about how there have been some good arrows.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see moving forward where this continues to go. If this was a blip, or if the few good ones were a blip. Yeah, I guess this one still might be a little bit TBD, but I'm still leaning pro arrow for the year overall.
And then also, one of the things I'd want to say about the set, not really jam related, but that Santo and Johnny cover probably is one of the first covers that I heard Goose play back in 2019, where I was like, holy shit, pulling a song, I think, from, I don't know when it was, the late 50s or early 60s, and still bringing it into today and covering it, I think is a really cool thing to do in this day and age.
So, Kev, how would you measure that against the hot encore that you saw in Colorado?
I would not.
So this sleepwalk was 76 show bust out. So that's exciting.
77 according to Nugs, but if it's Ryan math, then adjust accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. It's the metric calculation of show gaps, which we've been over that one, but so pretty long gap on that one. And then Green River, it's my big chase. It's my most common not seen.
Wow, really?
Not that anybody really cares about my most common not seen, but that is it. It is Green River.
Some might say you're lucky.
This might be true.
Strap in, baby. Strap in.
Big fan of Credence.
One other thing, I love the placement of this sleepwalk, kind of dividing up the song part of Born and the jam. I think that was a really cool move by them. This sleepwalk kicks off the run that will go through pretty much the rest of the tour with cover bust outs. I think pretty much every single show between now, that we're going to talk about today, has one or two or sometimes three bust outs of songs. So that's really cool to see them digging into the back catalog of stuff like that, songs that have kind of fallen out of rotation recently.
Interesting that you bring that up, Ryan, because there are a lot of cover bust outs. There's a gigantic cover bust out coming up, and I hadn't really thought about that until you mentioned it. But so we've been talking a lot. B, you've been specifically talking about this a lot, where what's going to happen when Cotter's coming in? Like, are we going to get new covers? And in a way, that might be what this is, where they decided to go back and relearn a whole bunch of these things, where they took a look at literally the whole catalog of stuff they've played and learned all of it. And you're getting this stuff. But yeah, in a couple of shows, we get like a gigantic bust out that is really exciting. Go ahead, D.
I think that the one thing I liked about this second half of the tour that we talk about is when we sort of saw Cotter settling in, and I know, we mentioned B talking about the covers and maybe a little bit repetitious with some of them to start. It was cool to see them pulling from further back, like we said, or things that actually might work better, like this, like we're saying, the sleepwalk here just fit well in that position. I think there's somewhere where the songs can be forced a little bit. We talked about the echo too, the set before. It's like, and trying to get that in between that jam. And there are songs that will work, or songs that they can still jam very well, or just I think that are maybe a bit more effective, and I think sort of fun and fit the catalog now for how they sound, and or just newer that we haven't heard so much. So that's maybe part of it too.
Yeah.
To just reverse the cover catalog. So we'll see what happens though the rest of the year.
So just going back to that echo really quick, I think, and maybe this was the point Ryan was making about it being forced or whatever, but I have no problems with them going back into the echo like that. But I do agree. Yeah, I mean, I just think that sometimes it's more of an afterthought. Like, oh, we're going to go back into the echo. You know what I mean? And I feel like it might be a subtle thing, but it makes a huge difference. If they did take just a little bit of time and maybe go into some ambient space or something just for a moment, just for a brief moment, and then quietly go back into the, oh, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to sing on here, but
Agreed.
but you know what I mean? I feel that's that's another one of those little nuanced things that, yeah, it could be so much better. You know what I mean? Because I don't mind them, but yeah, to your point, if it is kind of just rushed or whatever, then it just feels like it's for the sake of doing it.
Exactly. That was my point.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like natural and like it's just flowed back out of it. And, so anyway, just wanted to throw that one last point out there on that echo.
Or put at the end of Rum or something. I think maybe even the song itself to try to squeeze it versus like finish it off the Rum, which ended kind of hot, like we've said, and could maybe go into that closer to end the set.
Or do a Portland 2022 and put it later and then do the second jam. Just an idea. But anyway, let's move on to.
Well, I mean, what if you just didn't do the Rum?
That's also an option. always on the table. But let's move on here. Let's head down south, down to Raleigh at the Red Hat Amphitheater, site of the Madavon from 2022. Yes, this was a very sweaty show. Basically, this venue is like in the middle of the city, and it was, there's no cover, and the sun sets behind the stage, which doesn't have a back. So the sun is literally like beaming onto you in the audience during the first set. So that was fun.
They had some hot backs, I bet.
Yeah, this was also the show, now that we've seen with the part 3 of the vlog, where Rick made his own jorts, or SK made Rick jorts. If you haven't seen the part 3 of the summer tour vlog, you should go check it out.
Go check it.
Amusing stuff in there. Let's go with this first set here. A lot of animal songs in this show. The Whales, Atlas Dogs, Rockdale, Weird Fishes, Indian River, Flowdown. Now, on paper, this does not look like a very good set. And I will admit that before I listen back to it, it does not look like a very good set. I actually love this set a lot. I'm sure that's going to be an unpopular opinion with some members of this podcast, but I think the flow from Atlas Dogs through Flowdown is excellent. First of all, this is the GOAT Atlas Dogs, in my opinion. 2022 purist Jive Goose will probably disagree with me. I love this jam. First of all, most significantly jammed out Atlas Dogs since 2/4/22. But we also see the return of the Tarantella Napolitana tease from Rick. Great jam there. And then this last section where they just get into that dance groove, where this is, I believe, the first time we hear Peter use that phaser piano effect, is sick. And I love this jam. I go back to it a lot. We see Rockdale used as kind of like just a vessel for the flow of the set here. Continuing to see it get jammed out a little bit, but similar to KC, it leaves a lot on the table. We could see where it was maybe going to be going, but they decide to use it as the segue to Weird Fishes instead. And then Indian River, quick little delta with Love Light and Bubble House teases from Peter, and then Flowdown to close the set. But I think overall the flow is great here. While, yes, there are songs that I would have rather heard than what they played, I really like the flow of this set. That's probably some attendance bias, but hey, Jive, how do you disagree with that?
So I agree and disagree. I agree with the attendance bias comment. I agree. I agree that on paper it doesn't look that good. But I disagree that on audio it also doesn't sound that good to me. No, I'm kidding. It's not the GOAT Atlas Dogs though. Come on.
Yeah, no.
But nice to see them throw that big dogs jam out there. You know what I mean?
Big dogs.
And but yeah, otherwise, this actually feels a little choppy to me. In a kind of, I guess what I would call almost an abbreviated Rockdale. And then now back to the covers thing. So now here we go. Weird Fishes.
81 shows.
Let's go. Bring this one back, right? I'm always kind of maybe a spokesperson for wanting some new covers and maybe wanting to, not hear so many of the kind of older covers. This one, of course, I think Kevin and I saw the debut. Special place in my heart because of seeing the debut, but also.
Were you at 2/8/18? It was in Denver.
That is not true. Okay.
Stats don't lie. You were at the second
Anyway,
one.
It still holds a special place.
It's seeing
in
it with
both of our
Kev.
hearts.
That was the first time experience.
There
It
you
was
go.
the debut of Weird Fishes
For you.
with both Kev and I in attendance. Is that okay to say?
There we go. Yes.
Stat check
Yes,
that.
That's good.
First time played for us.
And then the Indian River and the
Yeah.
Flowdown. So, we did a 10-minute Indian River. We didn't get the 16, 17-minute version. So
They're doing well with that.
just want to end on a positive note.
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, with the Indian River comment, like, yeah, if it's going to be short and punchy, let's do something like this with some fun teases in it. Unless the only like Madison style, or they don't use Delta as heavy or something, but it's kind of rare nowadays. Yeah, I really like the Atlas Dogs too. I thought it was fun and just sort of a cool play on it. Sort of got a little repetitive, lost a little momentum for me, maybe I think, and that kind of made it feel a little sort of disconnected as a whole jam. But I think it's great. Yeah, it's a fun re-listen this end. I agree. I thought the Rockdale space, that last minute before Weird Fishes, like you said, they use it to kind of flow into it, but you just want them to sit in that space for 3 more minutes or something to see if what you can get. And yeah, like B said, I agree. I thought this was one of the covers I first heard too during those Denver shows, or sorry, the Colorado run, and just kind of hearing that Goose for the first time in 2019 over the holidays then, and I loved their performance of it, and I think it fits really well here.
Couple things about this set. Like Ryan, I do think this set kind of flows well. It just, I don't know, it's got a good vibe to it. I do like this Atlas Dogs, although I don't know. I mean, it's a long, jammed out version of Atlas Dogs, which is welcome, but I don't know if the jams really go to the exciting places that 2422 went to. Just in my opinion, the Tarantella Napolitana thing is neat.
Tarantula?
It's like one of those things that when Rick finds it, it is kind of like, oh, haha, like he's found this little thing, but it's not really like, it's not a big jam or anything like that, but it's cool. And then the jam that comes after is it's neat, and I'm glad that they did it. Jammed out Atlas Dogs is a good thing, so I'm happy that that's there. I actually really enjoyed this Rockdale. It's yet another short but enjoyable Rockdale. Not going on a playlist, probably not going back to listen to it much, but it's a pretty good version of Rockdale. And then you get Weird Fishes, which I'm never, ever going to complain about because that song absolutely rules and their cover of it absolutely rules. I mean, I think of a bunch of different versions, but when I first started listening to this band, I was like, oh my God, they cover Radiohead. Awesome. And then I think to the Solarium cover of Weird Fishes, which is just incredible. So damn good. So they do this one really well. And then Indian River. The last thing I'm going to this Flowdown, right. This Flowdown actually is a little bit different than typical Flowdowns. Like you should go back and listen to this one. It's got like a kind of a jam to it. It gets like a little bit weird.
I skipped.
Did you skip?
Well, as soon as Flowdown started, I skipped to the.
Don't skip.
Track.
Don't skip. Go back and listen to the next track.
Are you guys all noticing the faces that B is making around this Flowdown discourse?
Yeah, he does not like this Flowdown. So go back and listen to the Flowdown. Like you should, because it's actually a little bit different than it normally is.
He's like, what is the pod coming to? There's Flowdown fluffing, people saying this set is good. Like,
so I'm not saying it's like an all timer of a set, but it's got like some good stuff in it. It's like a little bit different.
You only forgot one thing, Neal. The Whales is actually pretty good.
I see your point there. However, the one thing I will say is they were having fun at this show. There were teases everywhere in this show. And it kind of blew my mind. At the time, it was just kind of, am I really truly hearing all of these teases? Like, I was actually questioning the Love Light tease because it's just like, there can't be another tease. Like, you just did one, and then there's even more teases as the show goes on. But I thought this was a pretty neat show.
There we go. Speaking of, we were talking about Indian River not overstaying its welcome. Speaking of songs that did overstay their welcome in this show, set 2 opens with Animal into Pancakes, Mist, Magic Carpet Ride, This Old Sea, and Hot Tea with an Escape encore. Now, I did say I liked the flow of set 1. This set did not have the greatest flow. Vibes, totally there. Everyone was having a ball.
Love it.
The college frat bros and chads that you get when you see Goose in North Carolina were having a great time. The vibes were totally there in this set. Musically, a 15-minute animal to open set 2 is not really what we're looking for. Time to flee tease, fun. But again, 15-minute animal. If you open with a 5-minute animal and then go into this pancakes, I'm sold. Talked about, I'm a big fan of, Goose doesn't do it as much, but like with Fish opening the second set with like a 5-minute high energy rocker and then going into the big jam. I'm a fan of doing that, but I'm not a fan of 15-minute animal opening.
There's
the
a
set.
formula,
But
huh?
Formula dictates. Pancakes. This pancakes. Really, really good. Is it as good as everybody says it is? Not in my opinion. But I really like this jam a lot. You have that initial kind of chugging clav section. Peter doing that kind of like spring reverb, like sound effect, which is just like a, he triggers.
What was it like again?
I'm gonna need to hear it a third time.
Thank you.
No.
Does that count as singing? And then you get into the When the Saints Go Marching In adjacent jam. They really, really stretch that one out. Spend a lot of time in that motif. Serious Bliss, obviously, I think we can all agree on which When the Saints Go Marching In adjacent jam of the tour is better, and it's not this one. Then we get, Quick Bliss Mist, kind of ripcorded into Magic Carpet Ride. The group I was with at this show, who is notorious for criticizing me when I complain about things, immediately groaned and
That
went
could
to
be
the
any group.
bathroom when Magic Carpet Ride started. It could be. It's true.
It wasn't me.
And then this old C, nice cool down, no jam. And then T, which was fun mostly for the train going by right behind the stage and blowing its horn during Peter's solo, which just had a funny reaction from Peter. And then I just remember they come back on for the encore. And then at that moment, I remembered that earlier in the day, somebody had told me that they sound checked Escape. And I immediately felt this feeling of dread. Like, because I knew with absolute certainty that they were about to play Escape.
It was for the people in the parking lot or something, right? He said
Yeah,
it was yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I was not a happy camper with the encore. But good pancakes.
I'm going to say some things. First of all, I think I've come around on Escape. I actually don't mind it.
Stockholm Syndrome.
That was surprisingly funny, Ryan. Kudos. No, I do. Like, I think it actually fits in a show in some places. And then what I'm going to say about Magic Carpet Ride, which is you
love it.
I fucking love it, dude. It's so good.
Oh, wait, you were serious?
I'm dead serious. I don't hate it in a show. Magic Carpet Ride is my excuse to talk about Max Creek as a young lad, 15, sneaking beers into the Globe Theater in Norwalk, when Creek busted into Magic Carpet Ride, it was the shit. And it's the shit when Goose does it. Yeah, man, it is. It's awesome. And I don't care what anybody says. I unapologetically love that song. And I love it when Goose plays it. Don't care what anybody says. But other things about that set, the pancakes is pretty good. Pretty good. I'm confused why people are really, really excited about it. I think it's a neat jam, but it's not really anything to write home about. Then that mist, we get another mist that's kind of nice, blissy mist, which keep playing it. Keep playing it a ton. And they've played it a ton this year.
Finish it. Finish.
Well, at this point, I don't care. If they're going to do that, I don't care.
I still care.
I mean, this is a throwaway version of Mist that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So I went through this set backwards. I think those are all the things that I have to say about it. Yeah, a 15-minute animal to open the set is unfortunate. But
yeah, you gotta love those bookends.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna do agree disagree.
Yeah, it's a good game for you to play today.
So, but also let me say to Ryan's, with the train and everything, like I think we all loved trains when we were Ryan's age. So, like I can see that being special. So yeah, look, I mean, we don't want to belabor this point, but yeah, with the animal, it's like, I just don't get it. It's actually a cool song that pumps the crowd up, but then I think there's almost to me, it deflates when you go into these kind of forced longer jams out of it that don't end up, but they're taking chances with it. So you could say that too. So it's going to pay off at some point, but it does feel a little bit like it's a missed opportunity to just have a little bit of a raging animal opener and then boom, then go into your improv territory jam, with the pancakes next. So with Mist, yeah, I mean, look, it's always better if it's finished. The finished ending of Mist is It's the greatest thing Rick does with the vocal effects. So that alone is a reason to finish it way more frequently than they do. But I do agree that if you do have a nice, really cool jam coming out of it, and it just doesn't sound, but I still don't know why you can't finish it. You always finish Tumble. Tumble goes everywhere.
Or Echo.
Tumble goes everywhere and anywhere, but they always finish it. Mist takes a couple steps off the track, and boom, no, I can't finish it now, guys. We're too far off track. So I don't get that one either. I think you've got to finish it way more often than you do, if not every time. The crowd absolutely loves it. I'm never going to understand. Magic Carpet Ride, strong disagree. Leave that one at the bar. Yeah. Maybe
put that shit on touch.
Maybe, maybe Max Creek could have made better choices too. I don't know. And then you've got the really short C, which it's okay. I don't hate a short abbreviated C, but it's always within context. It's always what's it coming after and what's it coming before. And when it's coming after Magic Carpet Ride and before Hot Tea, then that one hurts. I agree with Neal and his his opening comment about Escape. I was kind of going to say the same thing. I'm never going to be in a hurry to go listen to the Escape they played last night. You know what I mean? But I will tell you from Pine Creek, I think especially, I was like, but again, there's context here. I think at the end of this set, it could be rough. You know what I mean? But now imagine there's also sometimes we have these situations where, and maybe when we're ranking shows and we're looking at everything on paper afterwards, and you'll have just a fire set two, and then you get the Escape. That's actually, I don't know that that's so bad. So that's my thought on Escape. I think I actually do like the song. I think I always have. Maybe it's my Magic Carpet Ride, but contextually, I think this whole set was a little bit rough.
Yeah, you use that term belabored. Don't want to belabor the point about these cover songs. But what I will say in general about the cover choices is, when does Cotter get to choose a cover song that gets introduced into the repertoire? When does that happen?
Soon, I hope. All right, are we ready to head to Atlanta?
To the dirty.
Atlanta.
The ATL. Great city, by the way.
Oh, one of the best.
It's no Chattanooga.
So,
or North Quincy.
Yeah, June 20th. Fox Theater, the famous Fox. Fabulous. Well, it's famous also. I mean, they can be both.
Fantastic.
Set one, Butterflies. California Magic, fitting in Atlanta. All I Need. I'm all right. Make the move. Jive 1, Jive 2, Jive Lee. So, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot happening here. So Ryan will tell us, but I'm pretty sure this Butterflies was a bit of a bust out. Okay.
No, they played it a week earlier, a week and a half earlier.
Okay, that was
Kansas
on part
City.
one.
Bust out since part one.
How many episode gap? See, to Ryan.
Yeah, one episode gap.
It's a zero episode gap.
Neal said one. You had a finger up.
I agree with
Zero.
Neal.
Anyway.
So this set is actually just, look, it's all about the All I Need. This is a nice little jam. It's second best jam of the night, I think maybe we can confidently say.
That's not a high bar.
Well,
But it was good.
It's good though. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I like it.
It's good.
The logins. That's it's tough. I know.
Birthday.
I know. But come on. This was a really good All I Need jam. I really felt like it could have went somewhere special. And then we get the triptych, the Jive triptych, which is cool. Always nice to see that. And again, I want to hear some stats around getting the 1-2 Lee all in the same set.
Second time
But
ever.
first
Second
since
time, yeah.
Only other one being Dallas,
yeah,
2021,
yeah,
11-13.
yeah. And that was a good one. That was monumental when that happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, again, it's all about the need here. You know, otherwise, yeah, fun little set, fun covers, fun triptych.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this yeah, it was an interesting set, kind of settling into the venue for the 3 nights, being there and sort of just feeling at some sound issues too to get worked out. Like you said, I mean, yeah, the All I Need is definitely the highlight here. I think they do some cool stuff, kind of hit more of like the down tempo, sort of semi-dark, like going into that space, very exploratory, a little bit more reserved too, which like we saw later with like a drive this tour, like there's just it's sort of like pushing kind of those lower tones and not really like getting super loud, staying in a nice pocket. And yeah, like you said, I think where they were going had so much potential. And then for the birthday, I get it. It was more the forced entry into I'm All Right that just felt a little like weird and disjointed. And then I felt the same with the triptych at the end. Personally, it just overall, I thought that was like a great jive one. Actually, I thought it had some good energy, and then the two almost felt kind of like squeezed in there, and then of course finished with the lead. But I think maybe in the moment, I just listened to the set recently again, and it felt like it could have been like a one lead, like massive energy to end the set. Throw two in, maybe to open the second instead of, but you know what we see, and overall, I think it was a fun set. Like we said, it just kind of was settling in for the 3 night run, the first 3 night run here of the tour only. Yeah. So
Yep.
right. So I mean, yeah, in a tour of a big tour for them with some two night stops, to have this be the 3 night run, I think that sort of was a part of it. Maybe just with the rest of the shows and sets to come.
I think we see a common thread happening on the lesser attended shows of or like the kind of the shows that don't fall on the weekend, or the ones they expect like fewer people to show up. I imagine this night had the fewest scans of the 3 nights that they played at the Fox. So
Not even a
what do they
question.
do? Yeah, they pulled the treat out of playing the second Jivefecta ever. And so remember all the stuff I said about Jive Lee on the last episode? Forget it. Like it just all goes out the
It
window
does
here.
not apply
Not
to this
this one.
or the other Lee.
Yeah, we had such like two amazing versions of Lee in a row, and then this Lee I thought it was going to save the set when I was listening to this. I was like, oh man, this is going to bring all the energy right back up after that All I Need that kind of ended a little bit early for I'm All Right, which felt a little weird and awkward, but that didn't end up happening. But then the Lee that they play next, also kind of the same deal. So yeah, man, not the best set, but I think the interesting thing is that they did play the Jivefecta for folks. I think that's a nice little treat if you showed up that first night ahead of the weekend.
Yeah. For me, this is a kind of a weird set as well. Just the All I Need for me, that moment in the middle of the jam where Peter switches to guitar because he thought they were segueing into I'm All Right earlier, kind of like throws off the flow of the jam, and it was getting somewhere really cool. And then after that, yeah, it never really recovers. So kind of unfortunate there. Agree with everything about the Lee, and you know, it has been so long since I looked at the full set list from this show, and I had mentally blocked out what happened at the beginning of set 2, and like looking at it on the screen right now just like gave me flashbacks. So let's rip the Band-Aid off here.
One last thought on this set one. It was so interesting. Interestingly enough, at this stage in the year, we don't have a big All I Need. Usually, we've got
No, we have two.
We have like 3 versions that are within a minute of 20 minutes, but none of them are
nothing
in
anybody's top 10. I imagine possibly even not top 20 for me. But you know what I mean. Years past,
no.
You're talking 2 All I Needs in your top 10, top 5 sometimes. You know what I mean? So just interesting. This is the best one of the year in my opinion. I really do like it. A little bit of a missed opportunity here. I think in retrospect, I think a full Loggins suite followed by a Jive triptych, then the show's next level, right?
With Danger Zone too.
Danger Zone makes everything better, right? Isn't that what we always say?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so
I've
set
heard that
2,
before.
The Labyrinth. Haven't seen, don't see that one very often. So Ready, Mississippi Half Step, Uptown Toodaloo,
Okay.
The Old Man's Boat,
Woo.
The Empress of Organos, and then a big Doobie Song encore. So I'm just gonna keep my part brief here. I'm gonna keep it positive. So I'm just gonna talk about the Mississippi Half Step and the Doobie Song encore, by the way, also, which I love, and I know people who feel the opposite, and I'll never understand them.
Fuck that guy.
But it's like context.
It's one of my favorite encores. Yeah.
Encore that shit.
But the half step. It's always amazing, and this is another amazing version. Some might say it's one of the best versions of it they've played. It's definitely one of the best versions of it they've played. I think we all say that. But anyway, 2 big jams out of this one. Jam of the night for sure. Definitely a top 20 jam of the year so far. And so it's in good company. This is a really strong jam. And I mean, this is another show where everybody's going to talk about, set list this and set list that, and I'm right there with you on all that stuff. But it's also another show where everybody in attendance walked out with a really good All I Need and a really good Mississippi Half Step in their belt. So, cheers to them.
I need to say that you should not be using the same adjectives to describe the All I Need and the Half Step. They are not even in the same plane of existence here. This half step is phenomenal. It has been rising up my list for the last few weeks. The more I listen to it, the more I'm like, holy shit, this jam is incredible.
Out of curiosity, where do you have it?
Off the top of my head, somewhere around 15, which is basically in line with what B said, but it is, that good. Like this is 2-guitar Goose at its absolute best right here. Driving forward, Rick and Peter, interplay is there, and then you make that pivot towards the end into a nice peak. Again, not forcing the ending as well, ending it unfinished. I don't think there's any need to talk about what comes before, because for all intents and purposes, Half Step was the first song of the set for me. Kind of pretended that the first two weren't happening in a second set. Coming after that, Old Man's Boat with no jam, might as well not play it. At that point, like, I was so excited for the jam this time. I was like, great. The last time I saw Old Man's Boat was at Thekla, and they didn't do the jam. And so I'm so excited to get the jam this time. And then they went into Empress. Empress is great. And again, credit to the crowd at the Fox who brought the energy and, kept it up through some of the less than ideal set listing here. And then Doobie Encore. Okay, not my favorite. Half Step is really the only thing from this show that I feel like I ever need to go back to.
I think similar. It's interesting, like we said, being in attendance, because like I moved upstairs for this set, but the reaction to both Labyrinth and So Ready, that 25 minutes to start, where it was sort of same experience for myself of being like, let's get this set going, but seeing people, loving Labyrinth, which is a thing, and you sort of can feed off that, and then everybody's singing So Ready. Yeah, this whole show, actually, I sort of felt, and especially with the half step too, is such like a supportive Peter throughout it. Like the way he played, he got a great solo in the So Ready, highlighting his guitar playing, and then we saw it, like you said, yeah, the half step just and sort of a song that you would think, with it being a lot more like keys for Peter and sort of some organ and stuff like that, and the sounds that they could go into maybe traditionally. Yeah, I was floored by this. I loved listening to this, and like you guys said, it's getting better as I've listened to it with time. And sort of the ending for me, every time I hear it, I sort of hear like a Pancakes wormhole ending, like the way Rick's finishing and stuff like that, and sort of the peak that they're building into reminds me of when he's entering back into the end of Pancakes, which is something personal. But yeah, Old Man's Boat, tough. Fun Empress, sort of similar little space, like the St. Louis one, not nearly as good, of course, but you get a little taste of the sauce from Rick, but he turns it off kind of quick. So yeah, it was like a teaser show for the next 2 nights for me. So
picking up on the thread of what I was saying about the trifecta, this is yet another treat, this Labyrinth. If you've seen so many Labyrinths, that you are annoyed by seeing Labyrinth at a show, then you just see a lot of Goose shows, right? I think there are a lot of people who are probably really psyched to see that Labyrinth. And I just want to acknowledge that. Those people were happy. They should be happy. You're getting real deep cuts. And I think this happens on a couple shows in this last bit of run that we have here. So that's not so bad.
I just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I like Labyrinth, and I don't understand the composed music hate for Labyrinth.
I don't understand it either. I don't get it. So just want to say that one thing. I do acknowledge that I might want to hear some jams when I'm at a show, but if you don't see 30 Goose shows a year, let's say, or maybe 40 Goose shows, then that's probably something you're excited about. So I just want to acknowledge that. So Ready is my opportunity to talk. Actually, I'm going to talk about these two things back to back: the So Ready and the Mississippi Half Step. And I said this on the last pod. We talk a lot about how Cotter has really changed the sound of Goose. We talked about it a lot on the last pod. We're going to continue to talk about it. But I really also honestly believe what has changed the sound of Goose is the fact that Peter has absolutely leveled up on all of his instruments. And this is a good example. So his guitar playing in So Ready, far better than it has been in years past. His guitar playing on Mississippi Half Step, absolutely fucking insane. I mean, this jam is fantastic. It is a top 15 jam of the year. I think I have it right at 15 right now. And I, more than anybody, I think, love Two Guitar Goose. I think there is even better Two Guitar Goose coming this year, right? I think 15th best jam of the year is not really where Two Guitar Goose should be. It should be in the top 5. There should be 1 or 2 up in there, right? So I expect more. Peter's guitar playing in this is absolutely fantastic. This whole jam is killer. And again, Peter is the secret sauce. Peter is what makes this jam awesome. It's not Rick. You have 2 guitar players. Peter's the guy. I know Rick is Rick, but listen to Peter. Stop and focus on what Peter's doing. And this jam is so fucking great because of Peter. So there's the things I want to say. And I've heard people use the term war crime to describe jam band shows before. And I often disagree, except for this old man's boat. And the only thing that I have to say about that is that I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. Ryan manages to fuck up the vibe at shows. And he did it at Thekla and he did it at this show. And it's just the way it is.
Excuse you. Just by being in the room.
Just by being in the room, you fucking kill the vibe.
So John, just some agree disagree stuff. So I'm gonna.
I feel like you shouldn't be going first in any of these shows.
With the most recent and then work my way back. Ryan does indeed generally fuck up the vibe, especially when he punches you in the face during a sick jam. So that is true. Agreed. Ryan said, if you're not going to do an old man's boat jam, don't play it. I say, even if you are going to do an old man's boat jam, don't play it. I agree with Kev. The Labyrinth is good. And I think I'm agreeing with Neal too here. And I'm agreeing with myself previously. This is just have some fun. Find joy in other people's joy. You know what I mean? Know you're seeing something that you're not going to see very often.
What's that?
And not to mention, they can't open set 2 with the same 5 songs on rotation. You know what I mean? They're gonna mix it up. They're gonna mix it up, and where do you play Labyrinth? That's the question, right? I'm not saying this is the wrong spot or the right spot, but the Labyrinth. Nah, you can't open the show with a Labyrinth. If there is a wrong spot, that's it, though. Thank you. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one to slot in. You know what I mean? I don't know if opening set 2 works either, but it's kind of a tough one to slot in. I think maybe it's a mid set 1, late set 1 type song. I think really, you know what I mean? Almost like a Seekers type placement. So anyway, and then Doobie Song. Anybody who scoffs at Doobie Song, I feel like the young kids especially. I feel like the old guys like.
Didn't you already talk about Doobie? I feel like you're getting a second round with talking about Doobie here.
Because you scoffed at it.
What's up with that?
And I just want to say, I think the older guys appreciate a Doobie Song. You know what I mean? Someday there'll be a Sprit song. The old guys like the Doobie Song.
Kev, why don't you take us into night 2 at the Fox here?
Great city.
We're already at night 2, huh?
Holy.
Yep. Do it.
Yeah, it's a great city. I can't say anything that already hasn't been said about Atlanta. It's great banter there. June 21st, 2024. We opened the set with an Echo and Buddy Men cover of The Killing Moon. Mentioned the bust outs of covers, and that certainly was one. Going into Elizabeth, and then Dr. Darkness, Jeb's favorite cover, Rock the Casbah. Into Drive, Bob Don, and then Everything Must Go. That's your set 1.
This set I really loved. Elizabeth, another one of those shorter versions that just absolutely brings the house down. Energy was going crazy in there. The band was on fire. Dr. Darkness, again, not ideal coming off of that Elizabeth. I think if you remove Dr. Darkness here and then go into Casbah, you're set. You know, this was also a turning point in the show for our guy Jebri. He sings Rock the Casbah, and then suddenly for the rest of this show, just absolutely on fire on drums. Watching him play, like as soon as they went into Drive, and really Drive, Bob Don, and Everything Must Go are all pretty heavy drum songs for Jeff, just in general, but he was playing his ass off. Everything Must Go especially. I don't think I've ever seen him play that hard for such an extended period of time. So shout out to Jeb for his work in this set. This Drive fucks. This is a really cool example of a different kind of jamming style from them where they are not chasing a peak. It is not a build to a peak. It stays in a pretty mellow zone. Peter on keys, very melodic throughout, and then an excellent kind of fade into the beginning of Bob Don. Not a super highly ranked jam, but I would like to see this from them more often where it doesn't necessarily have to end in a big peak. They can just kind of stay in a more mellow exploratory space for a while. Anyway, that's what I got.
I have a question, D, for you, D. Do you recall where you had dinner before night 2 of the Fox?
Night
Where'd
2
you-
And why was it tacos?
Where'd you eat, D?
night. Did I have tacos? Night 2 of the Fox. I thought
Where are you going with this?
I thought
No,
I
no,
met.
just-
I thought I met Ryan and his dad down at the brewery. What was that, Ryan?
I forget what it was called, but we were at a brewery.
Yeah,
Okay.
wasn't that night 2? I thought.
Yeah.
And I went and met you, and then
Shout out to
Well-
my cousin Miles. This was his
Miles.
first show,
That's
and
right. His
He
first
decided
show.
before we even got to the venue that it was already his favorite concert ever.
Actually,
And then he loved it.
I do remember. I don't remember what I had for dinner, but I did have a beer, and instead of a tequila slushy it was a Mexican lager, and it was supposed to be a tequila slushy that went on top, but they actually had a cherry bourbon one, and then he put that inside of my beer, so that was kind of confusing, but it tasted all right. So I don't know. That's just my one
Neal,
memory.
Neal, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm getting there. So, like, first of all, holy shit, that sounds great. That sounds great. So, my follow-up question to that is, what do you think changed the rest of the set more after Rock the Casbah? The Mexican lager you had with a cherry bourbon slushy in the top, or Jeff singing Rock the Casbah?
It was Jeff singing Rock the Casbah. Don't be a hater.
I'm not being a hater, but I mean, like, was he like, like the sixth man off the bench and like everybody got fired up after? Like, I don't know.
He got fired up. I was saying
got fired up.
Maybe he got fired up.
I was saying he got fired up specifically.
Yeah,
He
Jeff,
played his ass off.
not D. D's always fired up.
Listen, the big jam came right after Rock the Casbah. So
I was
True.
dancing hard this set.
But I think that has more to do with the Mexican lager and Cousin Miles' first show than it had to do with Jeff singing Rock the Casbah. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
it changed Jeb's experience.
Sharif don't like it.
No, B, what do you got? I'll talk
Neither does
after
Neal.
you.
Just wanted to comment on a couple of things from a personal level.
Agree, disagree?
It's kind of, but so regarding Miles, it's so funny because I had that exact conversation. I'm not kidding. I saw the Grateful Dead at the LA Sports Arena in '94, and walking through the lot, I said to my friend, "This is the greatest concert I've ever seen." And we joke about that, and so it's so funny to hear that Miles had that same experience with Goose. So that's point number one. Point number two, as you guys know, I recently created a playlist on Nugs entitled "Rick Absolutely Shredding for a Sustained Period of Time," and based on Ryan's comments about this set, I might need to create a new playlist for Jeff just sustaining maniacal playing. So yeah,
For an extended
just
period
point
of
me
time?
to the
Heavy
any additional
maniacal
tracks.
Jeff.
You could put most versions of Thatch on there. Anyway, that was your whole point. That's all you got on this set.
All right. Yeah, that was.
Good job.
That was.
Good job.
Great.
He wants to. I think yeah, I think this set also maybe like we said some set list kind of things, Darkness Before Elizabeth or something like that, even after the
Or just
Killing
don't play
Moon. I
Darkness.
think that could have been a fun little transition. Hey, I like it every once in a while and love to sing it. But yeah, like you said, the drive was great. I sort of had a similar experience with the All I Need to, like, not something that was like crazy sustained, like chasing a peak. And yeah, anytime they're sitting in that space, I mean, we are all on board with it. Bob Don, it's fun. What did we have? Wasn't this like a subtle with
No.
half width or
No-
something
no
too?
width,
Nope,
without.
not even this one. No, this one was just
Yeah.
without.
Just real quick,
Without.
D.
And then
D. We're on a 0 episode gap from the last Bob Dunn half width discussion.
It's true. It's true. We are. You're right. Even though this one doesn't get there, I did bring it up. But yeah, the Everything Must Go too. I think this was sort of a spot where I was hoping it was gonna maybe bring, like Neal said, to night one's experience of that Lee, and you're like, oh, this is gonna end the set on an absolute high note. And you know, it just didn't get to the levels that we've seen at other points in the year with the song. And so overall, I don't know. I don't have Jeb's playing on Casbah didn't change the experience of this
Hey,
set
man,
being so top for
I
me,
can
but I liked
appreciate.
it.
I can.
Sounds like it
appreciate you, Jeff.
ignited the show. Are you ready to go to set 2?
I'm ready.
All right, Jeff.
I
Can I
think
say
I'm ready
just
as well.
can I just
Oh
say
my
I'm
God.
sorry, one actual thing real quick about the music. So this drive is really good. We didn't really dig into this drive, but there's been two, you know, top shelf drives this year, but out of the rest, this is my favorite. So don't skip over this drive. There's some really good stuff in here.
Yeah, should we Fulano to set 2? All right. So we open up with a lengthy 23-minute hunger sight into everybody's favorite new Goose song, Give It Time. And then we get a nice Thatch, Feel It Now, 726 into Dripfield, and then we encore with a very, very brief Turbulence.
I mean, I thought, yeah, that this set it sort of had great flow, whereas we talked about, you know, set one maybe with some selection choices and placement things. I thought this was a great, you know, just the way the flow of this set occurred. The Hunger Sight kind of gave me a little similar vibes to the Fiddler's version, where it sort of had like this massive push at the end, but a little different. I liked it better. It's solid. I haven't, I mean, had the same experience with Hunger Sight this year, like we saw with Salt Shed last year, and sort of that one version that stands out so much. Give It Time. We're seeing it can be placed a lot of spots end of the set. This sort of worked here as a cool down, and then Thatch, Feel It Now with a great connector into which we saw. Feel It Now is like sort of can be used in those places now and showing itself a lot more so far, which is good. It bodes well for the rest of the year. I always like it. This is a good placement for it too, kind of in the middle of the set to get some energy, keep some energy going after a nice Thatch. I thought sort of got to some great places, sort of like the St. Louis version. Maybe it doesn't get like super long, but you know, gets in and gets after it really quick. And you can't complain with 726 and an abbreviated drip field, but just a good flow. Like this is a fun set on paper, and I think it's a good listen too. And I thought Turbulence fit really well here too in the encore. Surprisingly, we always see it as an opener, right in the first three songs of the first set, and to hear it end the set here was very surprising. But I thought it fit really well. I thought the sound itself, it sort of got that Southern blues, obviously, vibe about it. Rick's playing the lyrics. And I thought the crowd reaction to it was very good too, which was fun to see. So yeah, I thought it was a really good the second set. I mean,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one there,
sure.
and it's fun to listen to also.
I'll read this set back because I think it's important. This set reminds me of CMAC second set insofar as, well, I'll just read it back to you. So, Hunger Sight, banger.
Banger.
Give it time, banger.
Banger.
It's a
Thatch,
revelation.
banger.
Banger.
Feel it now,
Hallelujah.
Banger.
726, banger. Dripfield, banger. Turbulence,
Yeah, first
banger.
one
As
ever.
an encore. Awesome. But having said all of those things, nothing really stands out in this set. So it's just like CMAC to me. Like killer set list for the set and nothing super exciting to write home about. But I love it when they play sets like this. It's just all bangers. I mean,
Goose
that's-
music for people who like listening to Goose.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a killer set. That's what I have to say about the show. Jod, what do you got?
Yeah, so I was actually when I was thinking about this set and just kind of reading it back, yeah, it's more than fun. D said it's fun, and I agree.
It's fun.
It's fun, but it's also amazing. Like
Yeah.
this,
It's a revelation.
this on paper is
Read it again.
Is
Read it
just
again.
a fantastic set. Now, probably the second best set 2 on paper of the year.
And what might the
So-
best be, in your opinion? I wonder.
I think it's, well, what do you think? I mean, it's Fiddler's Night 1. I think everybody agrees.
Night 1?
You know what I mean? That's
Really?
Yeah.
I was expecting you
Yeah.
to say night 2.
no. Even though we got the Hollywood Nights, hit it, Kev. But I also agree. I also agree with Neal that, yeah, I mean, nothing really gets knocked out of the park. But I mean, look, that's okay. That's totally okay. If there's ever a time, because here's the thing, not every Hunger Sight's going out of the park. Not every Thatch is going out of the park. Not every Dripfield's going out of the park. So if you're going to see versions of those songs that don't go out of the park, wouldn't you like to see them in that order, in that sequence, in that same set? Like that's amazing. And so, you can't be critical of setlist construction, but then get amazing setlist construction, then find something else to be critical of. So I think that this is a really and this show is really high on my list, and probably on all of our lists in terms of just overall collective shows of the year, and in part just because of that amazing setlist construction that Neal just read off. So yeah, good stuff. This is a really good set.
Yeah, I don't have any complaints about this set at all. And I don't think anyone had voiced really any criticism about this set. Yeah, like, I mean, Hunger Sight this year has been interesting because you're getting this really long, ripping, type 1 peak section. And then the last few minutes, they've been getting into some really cool stuff in pretty much every version of the summer. So I'm hoping that as the year goes on, we start to see them dial back just the straight up peak section. As fun as it is, I'm looking for, like, give us 15 minutes of what we're hinting at the end here. That kind of like darker, more angular jamming. It's there, and they're getting into that space, but they're not staying there for a very long time. So I'm really hopeful that, we have a lot of shows left in the year. I'm really hopeful that we'll see some Hunger Sights that really get out there. Give it time. First time here, not as a set closer. Love it as a mid-second set kind of cool down. But also, this is the first version indoors, since the cap. So the first time that it felt like everybody was singing, and the energy, of an indoor show is more like contained in that you can feel it better. At Fiddler's, everyone could have been singing and you still wouldn't feel the same kind of sense of energy because it's all open air. In the Fox, Give It Time, it felt like people knew the lyrics, were singing along. And then the beginning of Thatch like nearly brought the roof down, which was amazing. Trevor steering them into the You Enjoy Myself kind of jam here as he does. And then Feel It Now, 726, Dripfield, no complaints. Turbulence is an excellent encore song. I would like to say that. I love Turbulence in the encore slot.
Picking up on B's sports analogy, talking about songs knocking it out of the park, I just want to say about Hunger Sight this year is it is the Ricky Henderson
Totally
of songs, insofar as it's a single and sometimes it steals second. A lot of times it steals second, but it's not going
Hold on
any
a
farther.
second. Hold on. I was going to say you had me at Ricky, but I didn't like that last bit.
So, like, my point is, it's always a hit, and sometimes it goes a little bit farther, but dude's
Well,
not
actually,
knocking it up.
he has the all-time record for leadoff home runs in a game.
Yeah, that's because the guy was a leadoff hitter for like 25 years.
And he once stole 5 bases in one game, man. This is a terrible analogy.
No, all right, fine. But
Sorry.
my point is, it's always good, but it's not really.
Well, that's okay, but I'm just saying, if you're going to come at Ricky, I mean, you're coming at me.
Well, I just wanted to bring Ricky Henderson up again because, like, I feel like we've had some good Ricky Henderson moments on this podcast. Apparently, that one failed, but
And also to be clear, we're talking about Hall of Fame inductee Ricky Henderson.
yes,
Yeah,
Ricky
I mean,
Henderson.
and last thing about Ricky, Jive Goose don't like Jive Goose's podmates talking smack about Ricky.
Oh man, that's amazing.
All right. So night 3. Yep, that's what I just said. All right. Yep. June 22nd. Third night here at the Fox Theater, the fantastic, famous, fabulous Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. We have the opener of the summer, as we called it from the start, Hot Love and the Lazy Poet, with a nice little, followed by a good Atlas bust out. And then Mr. Action hitting him with that
Triple opener.
first quarter 1, 2, 3 punch. Triple opener, baby. Then we get a great arrow, followed by Silver Rising and SOS. We sit here and getting the jams of thinking back to the first night of tour, the need flee, and maybe like, are we going to get some jams to open shows, which we've seen as been a little bit more of a rarity as we've gone along. But I really liked this. Like, if I'm going to get a 3-pack for openers, I'll take these. I love all of these songs. I thought the Atlas had a good little punchy jam, followed by Mr. Action was great. Yeah, I mean, I really like this arrow. I know we've talked about it. A good year for it. This one gets to a lot different spaces than just sort of being a traditional type 1, sort of sustained peak there. And yeah, I think like the last 10 minutes or so, sort of, they have a great little 10-minute section here that sort of set the tone for a couple jams that finish the tour. Also, I think we'll talk about one kind of that gets close to the end, and just sort of getting in some, like Ryan, you said, like real angular, like I think this was actually Getty was just going absolutely insane too on his rig with this song in particular, and sort of exploring these spaces that we've wanted this band to do for so long. I mean, Rick's tone. I mean, Peter just supporting like crazy, like we said, hitting 2 guitar, like giving space there. Jebbing. I said, Trevor crushing and Kotsky just flying, and that like, yeah, I think that I really like this. It's been cool to see this song come back around. We'll go and talk about Another Tumble, obviously, which has been a great year for this song too. It's cool to see these 2 songs in particular for me that had gotten a little stale, and just sort of the spaces that they were so commonly going, find some different areas. And then Silver Rising is like as good as a landing pad as you can get. Another sort of very emotional, evocative, singing and harmonious song that everybody in the theater is singing along to, and we can't.
Always.
SOS Closer is just a banger.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll
you
take it
mentioned
every time.
the 3-pack of opener tunes.
really
It's
like
funny that they had put Hot Love / Mr. Action twice on the set list. They weren't sure, but Hot Love is going to get played in the opener slot if you're giving the option. Atlas, 92 shows, last played at the Ryman. So big bust out there, nice jam on it. Peter on keys, incidentally enough, for the first time, rather than on guitar as he had been in the past. We've seen that a few times. Mr. Action, always fun. But yeah, this arrow is the thing of this set. This is the kind of jam we want. This is the kind of jam that, we'll talk about another one later in the set that I had the same reaction to, where there's a point where I'm just kind of like standing there in disbelief, like cackling at what's going on. And this jam is all about the OB6. Peter just firing off lasers and, just like swallowing the crowd in alien sounds. Like it's unbelievable what he's doing out of that synthesizer. Shout out to Evil Goose. I love it. Love it when it comes at Arrow. Yeah, it takes 13 minutes to break free of Arrow, but honestly, so do some other songs. Sometimes you don't like the Fiddler's Drive, for example, doesn't get out of drive until like 15 minutes in. And yeah, B's taking offense because I'm talking about a Colorado jam. But I'm just saying this Arrow is incredible. Make Goose evil.
Make Goose
and
evil.
Huge shout out to Getty, who's the MVP of this jam.
So,
B, what do we got?
So earlier when we were talking about the Cleveland Arrow, and I was like, well, I mean, what's going to happen with Arrow?
Hey, here's the answer.
That was a little bit of a half joke because this is the one right here. So this Fox run has some really good jams. We've talked about the half step. Now we're going to talk about this Arrow a little bit. There's going to be another big jam in the second set of this show. And then maybe another jam that we'll talk about after that. But I think as far as my playlist goes, this Arrow is the highest ranked Fox jam for me. So yeah, this is
a good question, yeah.
This is a really, really excellent jam. And yeah, you get some darkness. And I'm not going to comment on how long it takes to get to this stuff because Arrow is it's a 9-minute song, and it's a great song. It's a great song. So yeah, take your time. You get to take so you can't take 4 minutes to get into an amazing jam. Come on, you can take your time. And then the first opening kind of portion of this set, yeah. That's all good stuff. These are all really good songs. It's not like we're talking about the triple opener with, name 3 other openers that might not be as strong as these, right? There's a difference between a triple opener, with some songs and a triple opener with Hot Love, Mr. Action, Atlas,
Darkness,
Bust
California,
Out.
Magic.
That's a really fun way to start the show. And perfect. See, this is the thing. Setlist construction wise, those are 3 really great songs, okay, with maybe some micro jams in there, and that's good. And then that sets up this huge, dark, exploratory Arrow. It sets it up perfectly. So this is really good setlist flow right here. I would think that I bet everyone at this show felt that, just like, oh yeah, just a fire start to the show, and then a really awesome jam in the middle, and then a silver rising to kind of come out of that big Arrow jam, and then a SOS to close it out. That's it. I don't know.
I would like to pull your receipts from the first half of this first set as it was happening live.
Well, hey, look, sometimes that happens. I don't have those receipts myself, but the point is, this is a really good first set. You know what I mean? First sets often have some holes that we're always talking about. So, we'll have a separate conversation around ranking first sets, but this one's going to be high up there. This is really good stuff.
Yep. A couple things to say about this set. Hot Love and the Lazy Poet, first set opener, every show this tour. So, I mean, just killing it every single show.
Every night.
Every single show. And then this Arrow is fantastic. I think every year Goose plays one Arrow that measures everything against around the 10 to 15 range of my Jam of the Year playlist. And I think this is 3 years running. And this one is that one. And it's going to sit around that area for me. It takes a long time to get to the jam, as we already said. The jam that is there is superb. Really can't say much more about that. So absolutely great Arrow. And then SOS, set 1 closer, best set 1 closer ever.
It just works everywhere.
No.
Indisputable. Absolutely great.
Indubitably.
So agree with Jive. I mean, just all around really good first set. And then, yeah, Atlas,
Neal,
first time in what was it? 91 shows. 91.
Neal, did they play
Kev,
Dawn
stop.
with SOS?
Thank you.
I believe that's part of the song.
Some people are wondering, because Dawn usually gets played when SOS gets played.
So set 2, easy, short, song-wise, but length-wise, it measured up close to solid length. And we had an opening tumble with a nice little Western Sun connector and a hot Redbird. Yeah, I really liked. With an encore of Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. big bust out,
Woo!
and a Factory Fiction fitting closer, fitting encore for the 3 nights. Yeah, I thought the tumble was really good. I sort of highlighted it with the arrow in the first set in talking about the song kind of finding a revitalization with the jamming that they're getting into. And tumble, of course, obviously we're going to have one later, a couple shows later, that just is next level. But this is a great tumble too. I think they've found a good recipe with the song. We saw it obviously with the cap, but then the summer camp version is very good, and it sort of had this similar style they've used throughout the summer with heavy Trevor, and then kind of you get your 2 guitar and just sort of taking off from there. Really good version, sort of finds some good spaces, and then sort of gets into your standard tumble jamming. Western Sun, good space for it in terms of connecting song. It's sort of a cool down, like you said, beautiful, good sing along. I'd like to see it get jammed. It's sort of like this old sea, like we talked about. And then, yeah, the Redbird here is just phenomenal. I think it's, right up there. 3 great jams throughout the night, with this one being the second for me. And yeah, you kind of have your standard stock little shuffle that they find in the Redbird. Very like nice breakdown with the whole band sort of settling in, a lot of Trevor and Cotter. For me, their swing and connection is just great, and it's highlighted in this. And then yeah, just some gorgeous Rick. Encore was top notch too. I think that was a great pair with the South again, kind of a song, the Canadian band that sounds like they could be from Georgia. So I think that's fitting. And yeah, you can't go wrong with a Factory Fiction encore. It was a good space for it. I think it sort of felt like it for me. I felt like this was the time for it. It wasn't a Traveler's Elmeg again. And great show. Really good show. I had a really good time. Fun way to end, with like the third night being the best for me personally of the 3. But yeah, just 3 good shows. Really good run. Good set too. I really liked it.
I mean, this is a killer set. I think the important thing to note is that it is a 3-song second set. So that's interesting. You get a very extended tumble, which I don't know. Tumbles on this tour, folks are really excited about. And I feel like I'm looking at a Magic Eye poster and I can't see the fucking sailboat because I just hear tumble, and everybody's like, it's the most gorgeous jam ever. And like, I just see tumble. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but this is a good jam. It's not great in my opinion, but it's very good. You get a Western Sun. Interesting that we're talking about this right in that window of time between Jerry's birthday and Jerry's death. When I listen to this Western Sun, and other people agree with me, so when you kind of all screw up your face at me when I say this, there are other people who agree with me, that Rick's phrasing in the guitar solo in this Western Sun just oozes Jerry Garcia. And it is a standout version for that reason. There's no jam here, but the guitar solo is absolutely gorgeous and really just kind of evokes Jerry. And I just love it. So really, really awesome thing to put in the center of these 2 really, really big jams. And then you get Redbird, which I think Vickers said was absolutely unhinged. And that is the best adjective I can use to describe this Redbird. And it leads to a few other jams that come after this. The excellent jam that ends this tour in the Westville Rockdale, where the band just goes to absolute chaos. And then all of a sudden just comes right back together again. And it's absolutely gorgeous. We had it with the Thatch from the show that I can't remember from the first episode that we did on this tour. Very, very similar. And Ryan, help me there.
Which?
The Thatch from
St. Louis.
Thank you. So yeah, so that one, like, absolutely amazing, totally unhinged, great. I love this style of jamming. If you like Dark Goose, you love this show because you get 2 pretty dark jams. And then I think personally, this is my favorite encore that Goose has ever done.
Yeah, I think it's up there. I think right
I
away.
really do. And like, you can say no,
I'm
you
into
can say
it.
there are better jams in an encore, but like, I'm taking a song that has it goes back so far of a bust out that they don't even know how many shows have been played. So if you go to elgoose.net, it'll say 597. It's certainly way more than that. That's a
Yep.
whole career for a jam band. For, they're not Not the big ones,
600,
but
600 plus shows is crazy.
600 plus shows bust out.
Probably 700. Honestly, like
And-
there are so many missing set lists from 2016,
2016,
2017, early
Exactly.
2018. Like it was last played June 17th, 2016.
Exactly. So I was getting that. So my point is gigantic bust out, but like, okay, so it's a big bust out. Is that really exciting? Not really. You know what's really exciting? The way Rick sings this fucking
The
song.
song.
It's amazing. Like it's so good. So one of my favorite covers they've ever done. And then you get a Factory Fiction right after that. Do you get an extended jam? No. But it's a really high energy version. It's really good. It's a rare song. So you get an extreme bust out that's like really played really, really well. And then you get like another kind of rarity in Factory Fiction. So all in all, beginning to end, love this set. So you get an abbreviated set, right? You get a 3-song set. So you get this encore. And I mean, you're winning all over the place on the show.
100%. 100%. And if you watch the vlog again that just came out yesterday, glad that we're able to kind of reference that here. But they talked about before night 1 being like, let's do Factory Fiction on Saturday. You know, let's close the run with that. You know, we've never played it in the Southeast. You know, it'll be a treat. And like they kind of are like, okay, like, you know, that's a cool thing. You know, they've played it on the West Coast. You know, we got it on Seattle last year. They played it in the Northeast, obviously. They've played it in Colorado. The Southeast had yet to get a Factory Fiction. So it's cool that they kind of noticed that. And they were like, you know, it's a 3-night run. It's a big deal. You know, only their second 3-night run ever to date. Obviously, there are lots coming up in the fall. But at this point, you know, those shows haven't been announced yet. So it's still like this is only their second 3-night run ever. So it's like it's a monumental thing. So by Cincinnati, night 3 of the 3-night run won't be as special as this night was. And that's not like in a negative way. I just mean as this becomes more commonplace, it's not going to be like, wow, we made it to the end of a 3-night run. It's going to be like, okay, here's the night 3 of a 3-night run. Anyway, Dixie was incredible, and I'm so happy they played it. Like Cotter's saying.
So just to add to that a little bit, with especially with the Factory Fiction, I feel like Goose, like you mentioned geographically, all the different places they played it, and having this come at the end of this 3-night run. And I sort of feel like that's Goose's way of expressing to a geographic area, like, hey, let's get more serious. We really like you, and we like to see more of you. I feel like it's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, I just want to Neal's comments there. Yeah, I mean, the night they drove Old Dixie down. I mean, that's just an amazing song. I think the elusive 3-song second set, though. I mean, I think that speaks to other things here. And I don't. Did we see a written set list for this show? Was that how it was planned out? Okay,
It was more than 3 songs.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were expecting to go 28
and
on
then the
Tumble
other thing
and
that
like
Neal kind of talking about the
Redbird.
Tumble. Yeah, you know, I think what it is it's the Legend Valley Creatures phenomenon, where you know you get a few minutes of some really good stuff, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's 30 minutes of awesomeness, and you know, it's not always that. And then the last thing, I was surprised that Neal thought that this was his favorite encore, because I've always thought that his favorite encore was an encore from June 27th, 2020. It was a bingo tour show where they double encored Rum Casbah Rum Achy Breaky Heart Arrow, and that is, I always assumed, was Neal's favorite encore. So I'll update my records.
I mean,
You got me.
how can you deny the Rum Casbah Rum? Let's move on to Charlotte here. Sunday show, hottest show of the tour in terms of temperature at showtime.
Oh, sweet. I got Skyla. All right. So June 23rd, Skyla Credit Union Amphitheater.
Ampin.
Right next to the worst venue that they have ever played.
Yes. I've heard about that. A lot of people will say that. They also say this venue is pretty good. And it's run by the same people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get set 1 opener of Earthlinger Alien, then Lead Up, Turn Clouds, Yeti, Born, Love is a Battlefield, Butter Rum. That is a songy first set right there.
That is a set.
Let me tell you, that is a songy one. So One thing I do want to say about this set before I hand it off
Hmm.
is that Yeti crushes in this.
Yeti's
show.
crushing.
Just like St. Louis.
Yeti has completely changed. It is a new song. It is we can't hold past Yetis against this Yeti. We cannot. And I am going to fluff this Yeti. So what do you get when they play Yeti now? You get Rick absolutely ripping it up on Digital Sauce. And I can listen to that all day long. I can listen to that for a half an hour. I can listen to that for
Not
45
only that,
minutes.
but you have Peter doing just Corey Wong in the background, which
Yeah,
I
just
can listen
rhythm.
to all day long.
That's exactly what I had in my notes. It's Corey Wong plus Digital Sauce. Fucking amazing.
Can we,
But
can we
also,
skip the lyrical portion of the
Trevor
song?
was on.
Yeah.
Trevor was on.
Sorry, wait, I had my finger
Yeah,
up.
and Kotsky.
Trevor was on.
Kotsky was flowing.
Trevor
We
was
know
on.
what
Pointing
Jeb's
that
been
out.
doing this tour.
Kotsky.
Jevin.
Oh man, it's still
Even
a
with
good
no
song. I don't
Casbah.
care what you say. I don't
No,
care.
listen, this Yeti was amazing, and I think he was trying out a different setting on his Digital Sauce pedal, because this was where I thought like the Mutron was back, because it was more of an envelope filtery thing. Unfortunately, I don't think the Mutron is back. I think it's just a setting on the synth pedal. But I was just really excited that there was some sort of envelope filter happening. And I also love that Rick has the ability now with that kind of thing that they've added to close the Yeti Jam. He has the ability to bail out of the Yeti Jam and decide when it's finished. So this was one of the ones where I felt like Peter would have kept going, or maybe it was this one or Forest Hills. I don't remember. But it felt like they were like, okay, the jam is reaching its natural conclusion. You know, if it keeps going, it's going to get a little stale. And so Rick just rips into that riff, and the rest of the band immediately is like, okay, here we go. And we're ending it. So I was excited about that. But yeah, this Yeti was great. Born, this is a sunset jam right here. This is not a bracket jam. This is a very enjoyable listen. Just nice major key, vintage vibe, floating. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then Love is a Battlefield, Butter Rum happened. 97 show bust out on the Love is a Battlefield. Last seen at the Met in Philly last year, continuing our trend of cover bust outs. Obviously not the biggest one of the show. But yeah, this Yeti Born is the highlight of the set for me. Cool stuff. Enjoyable.
Set 2. Shall we? All right. So we get Echo of a Rose, a big one. This is a big one. And I'm going to circle back to this before I hand it off, because I do want to talk about this Echo of a Rose. Then you get Seekers 1, Seekers 2. Everybody loves that in the second set. You get Madavon, Secret Agent Man, Madavon, which is really interesting because it was just it was teased just a couple nights beforehand, and it must have been on their minds. They wanted to play it again. They did and sang it. So that's really cool. And then last time that was played was November 6, 2020, which was a very, very long time ago. 239
240
shows.
240.
Yeah, 239. And I think it was like my 4th Goose show. It was amazing. So I was there for that one. And but really, really cool kind of bust out there, I guess. I don't know. It's not the best song, but it was kind of neat. The Madavon got really kind of nutty and devolved into that, which I really enjoyed that part. Circling back, I want to talk about this Echo of a Rose, because this Echo of a Rose has a really great example. We've been talking a lot about it because when you listen to it, it has an earworm riff in it where you're like, oh, what is this song? Some people were like, oh, this is Fleetwood Mac, or like, this is Heart. And I think a lot of people hear both of those like when they listen to this, because it's got that big, like, 70s, 80s kind of rock and roll vibe to it. And it's not that. It's just an example of Rick grasping melody once again out of thin air. And he finds these riffs that sound composed, and they're not. They just come to him. And I don't know how the hell he does it. And I really honestly do believe that this is the thing that Rick does the best. So you think about like all these great guitar players and jam bands, everyone has their strengths. I think Rick's number one strength is coming up with riffs like this out of nowhere, that when you hear them, you're like, oh, I had to have heard this before. This must be a song that was incredibly popular. So that's what you get in this Echo of a Rose. I think it's about 27 minutes. You get a pretty decent exploration of that riff that he found, and then you get like a bunch of standard Echo of a Rose kind of jam in this. So this one's good. It's like kind of in my top 20 of my playlist, but not, way up there. So that was pretty awesome. And then you get another Arcadia encore with, we keep noting these as Nebula teases, but it's really that Nebula TED Tapes jam is just an Arcadia jam. I think that's what we're coming to the conclusion of here. But that's all I have to say about this set.
This Echo is unbelievable, and it has one of my favorite things that Goose does, which is talking about Rick pulling the melodies from thin air, him doing that while Peter has that synth drone going in the background. I love a big peaky section while that's happening. I think it's a really, really cool effect. And this was one of the ones in the moment, after that first set, it was like, okay, we need a big jam for this show. And they just came out. Echo is a song that kind of fluctuates between, being short and punchy, or like can go a little longer like Omaha without really going many places, or you get a version like this. And I was kind of also in the back of my mind, we talked about with the Cleveland show, shoehorning in the ending of Echo. And this felt like, we talked about it on the day after show after Cleveland, and then they didn't do it here. So, cool, that they didn't force in the Echo ending. Would I have liked the ending of Echo over Seekers? Yes. But this Echo is amazing. I've gone back to listen to it a number of times. Fantastic. And getting Secret Agent Man, crossed off the list was really cool. I think this was another show where they kind of struggled a little bit with time management. Coming out after set break, they didn't have enough time. And so I was kind of hoping for like a bigger Madhavan jam instead of the segue, but stats, big bust out, 240 shows. Like that's crazy. And then an Arcadia encore, always fun. Getting that Nebula TED Tapes motif from Rick in there was great. But overall, I mean, the Echo is, the only thing from this show that I think I need to go back to in the future.
Yeah, quick aside, just to add real quick to what you said, Ryan, about the time management. Something that we haven't really mentioned a lot is, and I don't want to jinx it, I'm going to knock on some wood here, they seem to be getting better at it.
They were at the beginning of tour.
Yeah, yeah. The 3-song second set, tells me
and that wasn't even the show where it was an issue. We'll talk about. We're about to get into a stretch of shows where the time management does become an issue. We're about to get there. Charlotte kind of kicks off, the string of shows that we have with earlier curfews. Charlotte was, I think, 11 even, but they started a little late. But we, are about to have, out of the last 5 shows of the tour, 3 of them have a 10 p.m. curfew. Or sorry, 4 of them. 4 of them had a 10 p.m.
And it's later in the tour too, so maybe there's a fatigue factor going on there.
Sure, who knows?
Where's that Echo on your playlist?
20 something.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I could align unbelievable and amazing jams to placement on your list.
Hard to quantify the adjectives.
Okay, cool. I was just checking.
Heading up to the Northeast here for our last 5 shows. The tour, we've got 2 nights at Thompson's Point, Portland,
Great
Maine.
city.
First set on June 25th. Great city, Portland. Love it
Really?
there. Set 1, Time to Flee, Liza Jane, Spain, All I Need, Indian River. Shout out to Neal's Finger, the biggest casualty of this first set here. This was when my mom hopped on tour as well, for the last 5. Shout out to my parents who did lots of shows this summer. And for those of you who watch the day after shows, you will be seeing a lot of my mom this fall.
Yeah,
we love you,
Beach is
Lisa.
A lot of shows.
Yeah, Beach is perking up there.
He did, yeah. So Hot Flea to open, nothing crazy. Liza Jane in Spain, 2 rare covers. This is the first Liza Jane since March 1st, 2022. 178 shows. I won't say anything else about that show because I've said everything that needs to be said about that show. Go listen to it if you haven't. And Spain for the first time since Richmond, September 29th, 2022. I said 20 twice.
29th. Yeah, you did 2020.
September 29th, 2022. 135 shows. A couple of great bust outs. Very, very well played. Lots of extra mustard on Liza Jane. Peter especially going off. Again, on keys instead of guitar. We're seeing that on these rarer covers. I think, as we know, Peter's just jazzed to be playing keys a little more on some songs these days. And then All I Need, opens up our first big jam of the show, 19 minutes or so. And it's really just very grounded, piano-centric jamming here, as opposed to, floating away on synths, getting really deep into effects. But it's just leading, very propulsive minor key. Reminds me a little bit of 3/12/22 first jam for the duration there. And then a nice punchy Indian River set closer with the Delta and an STL tease from Peter. He'll tease it. He's not above that, but they're not going to play the song. Why? I don't know. They should. But yeah, that's the first set there. Neal?
Yeah, a couple things to say. Liza Jane, nice one to pick up. 177 show gap. And then Spain, 134 show gap. That one I've been wanting to hear them play. I mean, it's great. It really is. This one was remarkable insofar as Peter really did a great job on the keys. That shit's got to be intimidating, right? You're a guy whose first instrument really was guitar, not piano, or keys rather. And you're covering a Chick Corea song. Obviously, Rick nails it because Rick is Rick, and Rick went to Berkeley, and I'm sure actually he might even learn this song at Berkeley for like some kind of a recital or something like that. So like this one's been in the catalog for a while, I imagine. So it's got to be intimidating. And I think he did a hell of a job on this one. I think he did a much better job than the last time they played it. So that was really exciting. To finish the story about what happened to my finger, I suffered a tragic injury during this set. Thompson's Point is in like a big kind of field, as it were, and people just drink a beer and they throw their can on the ground, which drives me nuts because it's such a beautiful place. You're right on the ocean there, and
Not
so
enough trash
foolishly,
cans?
I put no, they don't. They don't have nearly enough trash cans at this place.
Yeah.
So I put my beer can in my pocket, and then I forgot that it was in my pocket. And then I reached into my pocket, and I sliced my finger open so terribly bad. And this is on night 1 of a 5-show run over 6 days. And oh man, it's terrible. There's a picture on Twitter of me holding my hand above my head, trying to
Thanks to
stop
my
the
mom.
bleeding from this cut. But the one thing I have to say, speaking of Ryan's mom, is that because we brought up Ryan's mom again, we do this every episode of this podcast, is
She goes
that
to a lot of
I've been told that she has everything. She comes to shows with everything. The one thing that Lisa does not bring to shows? Band-Aids.
First aid kit.
Band-Aids.
Yeah, no Band-Aids. So it was a tragic injury. I still haven't recovered, really. You can still kind of see it. But
And the moral of the story is it doesn't pay to keep areas green. Like Neal almost died.
yeah. So
Yeah,
being
so
the
litter.
responsible Boy Scout that I am,
Yeah.
really ended in injury
We do
here.
not
So,
condone littering.
that's all. B, what do you
Didn't
got?
you have another beer can injury?
Yes.
Yeah,
Finger.
I kind of
That was
I tend
that
to
was
have
earlier in
problems.
the tour, though. That was in last episode's
Yeah,
territory.
that's like
we
one
can't talk about it.
one finger injury per episode.
Per run.
Yeah, no, this one was way worse. Like,
Watch out.
significantly
September.
worse.
Zero
Anyway.
show gap injuries.
Anyway, who else has thoughts on this first set?
Yeah, I mean, I thought just on listen, fun set, good hot fleet open, and yeah, didn't quite get there with like the all I need, like we said, kind of, teetering on those spaces. Fun bust outs though. I thought that was a cool 1-2 punch, and yeah, Indian River to close didn't really work for me. I'll be honest. I wish, yeah, the STL slit, little tease there was nice. Can we get one? Maybe this fall it'll happen. Who knows? Realistically, it probably dealt with like a rework type situation. You'd only have to imagine, like we heard, because they finished the song the night before at the Cap. Where is it? Probably weren't too happy with it. Maybe in hindsight, from Rick's perspective, who knows?
Can't imagine
Well,
why.
that doesn't
It's sick.
that
Yeah,
that doesn't
I
explain how it ends.
Nope. Or that. Yep, another lost one. But yeah, it was a set here. It was a set.
Yeah. Anyone else on this first set, or shall I go to set 2?
Let's do it.
Set 2, drive into Kev,
Hollywood nights.
and then Mist, Spirit of the Dark Horse, Slow Ready, and an Animal Encore that Neal did not attend. This drive is kick ass. This is 2-guitar Goose at its best. B's on mute and he's singing Hollywood Nights. That's pretty good. We were given very clear instructions before this episode started that we were not to sing. So I apologize to the editor.
He was too
those who have
far
sang.
from home.
Yeah, listen.
He's still muted.
Some have said that Hollywood Nights is overplayed. I couldn't disagree more. I've
Fuck
seen
that.
it 6 times now. I've gotten just as excited every time it's been played, and I've seen it a bunch of times where it comes out of a 12-minute arrow, or it's like a quicker song that segues into it. I love that they opened set 2 with a 20-minute drive that is really high quality jamming, and then they drop the Hollywood Nights. I think it's even better in this kind of slot, coming on the heels of a big jam. But just like, again, the half step we talked about, like dirty dual guitar that eventually shifts into this upbeat peak zone. This is just grimy dual guitar work for the duration. And I love this kind of drive. Drive is kicking ass this year. I'm curious to see where it goes in the latter half of the year in the fall. But man, Drive Hollywood Nights is high quality shit. Into the Mist, you get that arpeggiator in there, really, really good stuff. And this is one of those versions where they're jamming. We're 17, 18 minutes in, like we're at high energy, and I can feel like it would be so easy to just slip into the ending here and really just bring the house down. And then they fade it out, and it goes into Dark Horse, which I love Dark Horse, but please, Goose, finish Mist every once in a while. It won't kill you. It'll be amazing. And then Slow Ready, is Slow Ready. And then, Neal got out of there as soon as he heard that Animal was starting. He was already having a Modelo in his hotel room by the time the jam was
not
wrapping
true.
up.
Not true.
That sounds phenomenal.
Well, he
That
thought
is
it was
some fake news
Arcadia,
shit.
and then
True.
so just real quick, I was on mute because I was told that there is no singing allowed.
Thank you.
That's a ridiculous rule, and you shouldn't follow it.
Yeah, this drive's really good. It's a really good drive. It's right behind the Fox drive, which are like a gap below the 2 big drives. But this is a good one. This is a really good one. And yeah, set 2 opener drive. I mean, that's how you get the crowd pumped and ready to come back out of set break. I mean, I love it. And yeah, there is no wrong spot for Hollywood Nights. Short jam, long jam, set opener, show opener, set closer, encore. Yeah, Seeger me anywhere.
Anywhere.
I'm gonna say,
Anytime,
contrary to what you
anywhere.
just said, it would not work as an opener. It needs to segue out of something.
It would work for me.
Me as well.
Yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah.
I
Just
feel like
real
Hollywood Nights from a hard stop wouldn't hit the same.
real delicately
Sounds like that's
coming
just
in.
you, Ryan.
You can sing the intro. But
I'm just being a realist here.
He wasn't around in 78, so I don't know.
Neither was D.
I thought this drive, no, 88 here.
In spirit vibes, though, like D gets it.
Yeah. I thought this drive, was super cool. We sort of heard this is kind of like a version where they they hit like a first jam kind of jam, like the slow plodding, like Cotter recycling a lot of fills. I felt like it's sort of hard stop, like guitar work, 2 guitar work from Peter and Rick, and then they kind of make that shift where Cotter picks up basically double time from where they were for the majority of it, and kind of just Rick building the sort of very scratchy rhythmic work as they just kind of played together and took off into anytime you end up in Hollywood Nights, like you guys are saying, I can't echo the same sentiments.
It's a good place to be.
I thought Mist, Dark Horse, Slow Ready looks great, but this one didn't maybe get executed like it should, like we said, sort of the time constraints, unfortunately, because you put 10 to 15 minutes more in that segment and it just has a lot more potential. We talked about second set opening Animals. I don't know. I mean, this one, same thing for me. A little bit too long. Maybe like the 7-minute one to just bang it out would be a little bit more fun. So
a quickie.
Yeah, sometimes you need them.
Should we talk about the good Portland show? Wait, Neal, do you have something for night 1?
So I have a couple things to say before we move on from this show. First of all, Drive Hollywood Nights, very good. Not going to really say anything more about that.
We'll listen to it.
Into the Mist.
But Neal, how do you really feel about Hollywood Nights? People
I feel like I have seen a lot of Hollywood Nights. So I'm going to do a little bit of agree, disagree here.
Find joy in other people's joy.
Yeah.
Find joy in other people's joy.
Well, so I am happy that some people on this podcast absolutely love the song. I've seen it like 4 times. Ryan's
I've
seen
seen
it
it
like
6 times.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Maybe
It's
you
run
guys
its
should take a
course for
break.
me. That can happen with covers. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So I'm kidding. It's actually a great song. It always hits. But otherwise, about this set, you get Into the Mist. This Into the Mist makes me wonder if there was intention to actually go into Slow Ready after that, because they get into the arpeggiator jam in this. And this actually turns out to be like the least exciting Into the Mist they played the whole entire tour. So that one was kind of a letdown, because this song always hits. And then in this particular show, it doesn't. Dark Horse, cool. Again, this is a treat. So this is what we were talking about before with like the first night of the Fox. This run was a pain in the neck to get to. If you're on tour, you're skipping these two and you're going straight to Jersey or
Jersey.
Philly, whatever. It's all the same to me. So
Yeah, kid.
Yeah, kid. So in any case, so you get a bunch of treats like over the course of this 2-show run. This is an example of that. You get the Spain and the Liza Jane. You get the Dark Horse. You get to tick some things off the list of like originals or covers that you haven't seen. And then the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is to defend my position, because we've been teasing this now for a whole episode about me walking out of the show. So this is my opportunity to talk about that. The reason why I walked out of the show is, one, they started playing Animal, and I knew how much time was left in the show. And I was like, I can stand inside of Thompson's Point and wait to be in the whole crush of people walking out, or I can stand right outside the door and hear the show just fine. And that's exactly what I did. So Ryan Storm will have you believe. Ryan Storm will have you believe. Wait, hold on.
0 seconds to leave the venue when I left.
Ryan Storm will have you believe I walked out of the show. I certainly didn't do that. I just stood to the back of the stage and listened.
No, you wanted to get a jump on the traffic like any middle-aged dad would.
Yes, and as you said, I was having a Modelo much earlier than everybody else, and I was really happy about that because I was
Sometimes
thirsty.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's the summer. It's hot.
Neal
you
gets
need
thirsty.
a drink after the show, and I was thirsty.
Gotta hydrate.
Gotta hydrate. Super
it had been
important.
Like 20 minutes since Neal had a beer. Like he was.
No, actually, I think it took the second half of that show off because I had cut myself so badly. But in any case, what was the last thing I wanted to say about that? Oh, right. So this encore, stark contrast to the encore that comes after. I can't wait to talk about that one because it's a very, very different situation. Similar amount of time. So that's it. That's all I had to say.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. B.
Portland.
Night 2, Portland.
Great city. Night 2.
Love it.
Set 1. Turbulence in the Night Rays. Doc Brown. Ate up all the cake. It burns within. Jive chew, jive lead. Your ocean, SOS. Doc Brown in the 2-hole. So we're off to a good start. Turbulence, Doc Brown. The big Bon Iver cover that Neal loves, and I also love. It Burns Within.
And so does everyone.
That Kevin loves, and I also love. Jive 2, that D loves, and I also love. Jive Lee, Your Ocean, and then SOS Set Closer, which we all love. So, yeah, a lot of love in this first set.
Excuse you.
Yeah.
It is.
A lot of love. And, not necessarily any big jams, but yeah, it's a good
songs,
good. If you're gonna have a songy first set or a first set, yeah, this is a way to do it, I guess, right? Good start.
This was like 2018, 2019 first set.
Yeah, you know what? I shout out to a friend of the pod here for Goose. Got his first Doc Brown during this set. He has been like memeing on Instagram for like 2 years now. Try to get a Doc Brown. Being next to him when he got that Doc Brown finally was really phenomenal. He jumped like 10 feet in the air and just started hugging everybody. So that was great. Otherwise, I mean, Ate Up All the Cake, always great. On paper, this set is great. For me, I think getting the number of ballads that we did Ate Up All the Cake, It Burns Within, and Your Ocean, being 3 out of 5 songs. A little bit of a downer in terms of flow and in terms of energy. Again, not saying it's a bad set, but looking for a little more improv, especially after Jive Lee. We talked about it at the Fox, but especially given the way that they started the year with Fiddlers and Northland's Jive Lees, then getting this, feels a little bit like what happened, and that being the only real improv of the set. Obviously set 2 is going to more than redeem that, but in the first set, in the moment, I remember being a little bit disappointed in the song selection and thinking it was a little bit slow. SOS obviously picks up the energy at the end. Love this as a set closer. We talked about that at the Fox. It just works in every slot of the show. Yeah, that's all I got. Neal?
Yeah, this set is interesting insofar as it has bust outs, rarities, whatever you want to call them. I don't know if any of these are really truly a bust out, but I don't know. What is it like?
They're not. They're rarities, I'll say.
But they're all songs that folks chase, right? So that part's cool. I think you can pluck things out of this and make like a really neat playlist. But if you're at the show and you're standing and listening to this whole thing end to end, not exciting.
Sure.
So I think that's fair to say. I think also the really, one thing to note about this set is that this Jive Lee, Goose rarely swings and misses. Every once in a while they play a song, you're like, well, it could have been better. And this Jive Lee is like a total swing and a miss. Where it's like a situation where I think Peter was looking at Rick and Rick was looking at Peter like, when are you going to do something? And then they just kind of agreed to just stop playing. And that's what this Jive Lee is. I mean, boy, was it a miss. Like, I don't know what the heck happened there, but it was bad. I mean, frankly, I never say this about Goose songs, but this one just didn't work out. So
You don't,
but,
so that's fair.
Yeah, in this set though, Ate Up All the Cake. Holy shit!
It ate up all the cake, even.
Oh my god! Like I lost my fucking mind. I've been wanting to hear that so bad for so long. It's one of my favorite covers that they do. Huge Bon Iver fan, long before I ever heard of Goose. And yeah, man, that one hit. It was great.
Yeah, just kind of picking up what you're talking about, Neal. I come back to, and not to step on second set, but I come back to the show a lot for 2 songs, Ate Up All the Cake and, the Jim James song in the second set.
We'll get there. Don't get Neal too excited right now.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to do that, but when I want to get my like lyrical, I want to hear Rick sing, I want to hear vocals, I don't want to hear him shred. I want to hear him sing. I'm coming back to this show and I'm listening to those 2 songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
D. Oh yeah. Sorry, D.
No, I think what you guys said is true. It sort of is a set that like it's got re-listenability just because it's Goose, just straight Goose, and it just is like a I don't think, especially you think about for somebody first time show, like this is a great set to like bring you into the mix kind of thing. I mean, Kev always talks about it. You're getting some older songs, you're getting some great covers, you're get like beautiful covers, originals that we don't see. Your Ocean is gorgeous, especially with the setting. You're right on the bay, right? Remind me not. I mean, you're
Yeah,
just
the ocean's right
point.
there.
So
on
it's
the water.
the ocean.
Yeah, we talked about that. Neal almost died because he was protecting the ocean. He threw his entire hand between himself and the ocean.
Point of information, though, it's not like the ocean that's right there. You're in a salt marsh.
Hey, easy, pal.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
fair.
you're near the
That's
ocean.
fair. I know
Yeah.
you're in a
Yeah,
tide.
they call it
you're
the
in a
ocean.
tide pool. Hold on. You're in a tide pool.
After that,
you're in a tide pool.
B, why don't you take us to set 2?
Noted geographer.
After that Jive
Goose.
Lee, Neal almost walked into the ocean. It sounded like.
The ocean is love, Jive.
Yeah.
The ocean is love. Jive
Let's
doesn't
hear
know what
about
that means though.
This jam, though.
But
Yes.
it's okay. Jive,
Yes, sir.
go into set 2 here. Please.
Set 2. Wisteria Lane. When I see
Ooh.
set 2 and then Wisteria Lane right below set 2, I mean, yeah, that's all we want. You know what I mean? White lights, and when I see white lights, I think a few things, but one of the things I think is, after I calm down, is oh, maybe we'll get a loose ends. So sure enough, we get the loose ends back into white lights, creatures, state of the art, AEIOU,
Neal,
Encore
calm
the
down.
Empress of Organos. So Wisteria Lane, I mean, it's the best Wisteria that we've heard in a bit. It's the best of the year. Top 5 jam of the year
This
for
year.
me, by the way. Maybe
Yep.
do we all agree
Yes,
on
sir.
that?
Yeah. Consensus?
Okay.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go.
It's like teetering on the
Yeah.
edge there for me,
It's
but
number
it's there.
5. Yeah,
It's
number
5,
5
but
for
it's
me
top
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay, good. For me too.
Yeah, it's there's just some really good kind of,
Bliss.
you know, it has a bliss component to it. It has a really beautiful melodic jam that and it's one of these jams where it sounds familiar, but you ultimately realize that it's not anything that's familiar. It's just a beautiful melody that has a really good, it's like a hook of a melody almost, you know. But yeah, this is, I think I'm biased to Wisteria jams. I think just the natural Wisteria jam is pleasing to me, kind of like Rosewood, you know? And so anything good, anything extra special that comes out of a Wisteria, you know, I'm always gonna want to listen to over and over because I love it. I don't skip the song. I love the song. I love the natural jam of the song before you get to the improv. I love it all, and this is just a tremendous version. So just and then just to kind of wrap up the rest of the set, white lights. Yeah, we get the loose ends, which is really cool. Creatures, another kind of short creatures, which is cool, which is fine. And then the Jim James set closer, you know, which is good. I think maybe I don't know about a set closer there, but I always love to see state of the art and to get the Bon Iver, by the way, and Bon Iver set 1, Jim James set 2. That's something we got to figure out what the trifecta to that would be,
Yeah.
because
That's money.
as a duo, that's pretty solid. I don't know, maybe Seeger rounds that out. I don't know. Probably Seeger kind of
It's not the
Seeger kind of
trifecta.
rounds everything
Didn't
out.
see that coming.
And then I mean, a pretty big encore here. I mean, this is quite the encore, actually. We talked about the big encore earlier. One of Neal's favorites, the Rum Casbah Rum Achy Breaky Arrow.
Yeah.
But this is a big extended encore. You know, this is
This is the shit.
this was really cool to see. So yeah, I mean, overall, it's all about the Wisteria here. But yeah, good for Portland, Maine. You know, a couple more good shows in Portland, Maine. Another 2-night run in Portland, Maine. I really hope that this continues to happen, because at some point I got to get out to one of these Portland runs, because it truly is a great city, one of the greats.
It's nice. It's nice when Jive Goose pretends that he'll leave the state of Colorado for a Goose show. You know, it's
For a
it's
salt
nice.
marsh. To
Neal,
be by a
what-
salt marsh.
Yep.
Neal,
It's
what
like
you
the
got?
Everglades
Lobster rolls
that he
of
can't
Maine,
eat
really.
either.
I mean,
Yeah.
who are we kidding?
All right, let Neal
Portland
let
is the
Neal cook.
Everglades, man. Holy
Let
shit,
Neal
that was
cook.
such an insult to Portland. Like, I can't even fucking take it. Wisteria, incredible. And like Jive, when you see a Wisteria set 2 opener, you are excited. This one did not disappoint. I think it has 2 really major components. And the one thing I want to say about this, so I think when we talk about this jam, a lot of people have been talking about this jam. You want to talk about the bliss component, that really nice melody that Jive mentioned that actually appears in the Pancakes from Raleigh, also shows up here, and I think it's more fleshed out and is like even better in this one. And some folks will say, like, well, they've already played this jam and they're playing it again. That kind of devalues this jam a little bit. I disagree. I think that jam is great. But the best part about this Wisteria is the jam that comes before it. And it is all of the things that Rick and Peter are doing And specifically, I want to focus on what Peter is doing. I mean, this is one of the most psychedelic jams Goose has ever played, in my opinion. And that's a bold statement, and I
Yeah.
stand by it. I'm not just like kind of randomly saying that so I can make a comment and then move on, but I really truly believe this is one of the most psychedelic jams I've ever played, and it's all Peter. And Peter on the back half of this summer tour just kept getting better and better and better and better at doing really crazy sounding things on the synth. So this is the best example of it that I can think of is this jam. And straight up, we were calling it like auditory nitrous. It is just like whoa, 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 whoa,
You
whoa,
were
whoa, whoa.
calling it that.
Like, I mean, like that's what that is. So you get digital sauce, auditory nitrous at the same time, and it is psychedelic as fuck, and it's so good, absolutely amazing. So go back and listen to this jam. Don't listen to the Bliss segment. Listen to the part before. That is
Skip it.
absolutely incredible. No, I mean, like I really mean it. Like this is the part to listen to, and that's why it's a top 5 jam. It's the first half, not the second.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I want to say about this set. If you're the kind of person who looks at white lights on the set list and then immediately thinks they should look away, you're
Jive
wrong.
Goose.
You are wrong because it has been great before and it's great in this set. I think back to Legend Valley 2021, excellent version.
Yep.
Excellent version. Excellent version here. Not nearly as good, but excellent version.
Loose ends.
And then you get a loose ends, which is always exciting.
Tying up your loose ends.
We've agreed to not do this, Ryan. But
We all
Wait,
no,
criticizing
I
me.
think 4 out of 5 have agreed to ignore the rule.
yeah, okay. So you've ignored the rules. So you get the white lights. And I think that was very, very good. Ryan got his first white lights. Shout out to Ryan for getting
Thank
a white
you.
lights after
Thank you.
60 some odd shows.
It was
really?
loose ends, actually. I had gotten white lights.
Or I mean loose ends. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
thought.
got a little shook there. So and then you get creatures, the short kind of creatures that we've been talking about, which was just right in that spot. Loved it.
Perfect.
And that didn't take up too much time and take away from the set. Then you get state of the art.
You can
And
hear Neal on the boards, by the way. The
holy
first
fuck.
scream that you hear on the boards when it starts, that's Neal.
It is one of my favorite covers that they do. I say this about like a whole shitload of covers, but this might be my number one. This is the
Haps
number
did
one.
take his shirt off during State of the Art.
Haps popped the top. I mean, he was standing on like a rail. Like, I mean, like folks were fucking going crazy. I was going insane.
Yeah, you were going
it's just-
crazy.
it's so good. It's so good. And it was so good in this moment. Just as good as any other version they've ever played, in my opinion. And then that ends the show, which I agree with Jive. That's kind of a weird way to end the show, unless you encore with something like this Empress,
Mhm.
which is absolutely unhinged again.
Outrageous, Neal. Outrageous. Say it.
Unhinged. No, this is so picking up again on this thread of
Say
jams.
it.
You go way back to the Thatch that I mentioned before, and then you go to the Fox Redbird, and then you go to this. It's dark, it's evil. It's got like straight up Led Zeppelin drum breaks in the middle of it, which is fucking awesome. Absolutely fucking awesome. I mean, this encore is not what you would expect out of an encore. This is a great jam. Is it like a playlist worthy jam? No. But I mean,
Kick-ass.
Cotter got to flex
Yes.
those Led Zeppelin chops, and that was pretty cool. And I really, really enjoyed this. So, like the whole second set of this, I absolutely loved. You know, you might like complain about the white lights, but I don't know if I agree with that.
No, I will not. This Wisteria to me, like within 30 seconds of the jam starting, when Peter immediately goes to OB6, I turned to someone. I was like, it's like a spaceship taking off immediately. Like that was the vibe that I got immediately, Neal. And yeah, the first half of this is the start, because the second half is pretty much similar to what we got with the Raleigh Pancakes. But the first half is what sets it apart. I agree, Neal. You put that really, really well. My first loose ends, I did go apeshit for. That is true. And yeah, I continue to be impressed with how they've been treating creatures this year as just kind of a momentum carrier. I looked at, earlier tonight, I looked at, if you go to the song page on lgoose.net for creatures, and you look at the song timings. This year, the longest one has been 14 minutes and 12 seconds. And if you look at last year's creatures, you are getting mostly in the 18 to 20 minute range.
It's getting the Western Sun treatment.
It's not, though, because you're getting the high energy creatures. The song is what matters, and you're getting a little bit of jamming, but they're not overstaying their welcome on it. They're not forcing an 18-minute peaky creatures. Same with Tumble, right? They're making an effort to kind of make that interesting, and they're making an effort to jam it in a way that makes better use of its time. Jive is going to dispute that, but I think overall, Tumble has been interesting this year, more so than last year.
Agreed.
I'm talking about in comparison. Creatures,
Agreed.
especially using it here as like we're getting the high energy song, we're getting a little bit of jam, and then they're going into state of the art, which is the first one since October 8th, 2022, 129 shows, big bust out, really like incredible song. And I do want to give you credit, Neal, before I talk about this Empress. Driving from Portland to Philly the day after this show, we were basically just doing like playlist editing for the entire like 8-hour drive. And
Yeah.
I think that the five of us don't get to spend enough time with each other or like at all, usually just like listening to jams and talking through them and kind of doing like, let's do an A-B of this and let's compare it to that. And so I think that my analysis of, Fox through Portland was greatly enhanced by that drive because we were kind of going through the highlights and going through, we even did with Jive Lee, we did like a, Northlands Fiddlers and Art Park 2022. And we did lots of analysis. And just being able to talk to each other while listening to these jams. And so I think we should plan an Always Almost There retreat where we like rent an Airbnb and then go and just listen to jams for like a weekend.
I can't wait until you come through with the Nug sponsorship.
The
for
corporate
that.
retreat.
It's going to be phenomenal. And then also, in addition to that, like Jive and I got together and we listened to jams and we A-B'd some jams this
So you guys
weekend.
did that.
But it was Bob Marley. So
Oh, okay. So there you go. Anyway, before I pass it off to Jive here, this Empress, yes. When this Empress started, I was like, okay, we got 15 minutes left. It's going to be nice, peaky Empress. It's going to be solid. It's going to be like the Fox. And then suddenly they're in the darkness. And suddenly they're playing an evil jam. And I turned to my mom and I was like, if only they had 10 more minutes. Like imagine where this Empress could rank if they could have, played for as long as they wanted to and then ended the show. And so that's one of the greatest tragedies of the time management towards the end of the tour. And we'll talk about one in the next show where, like, imagine if they had 10 more minutes. Imagine if they had gone on.
That was my nickname in college.
Oh. Thank you. But on a more serious note, like, this is the thing, sometimes we get like, oh, the set was cut short or they had to non-core or, they could have played an extra couple of songs. Different than playing an extra song, the jams kind of lose a little bit of breathing room, when they go on 30 minutes after ticket time and then take a 40-minute set break. And so I'm hoping that going into the fall, we saw at the beginning of tour, Kansas City, they went on at the moment of ticket time. I'm hoping going into the fall, I think there are only a handful of these venues, as we start to move indoors again, only a handful of these venues with earlier curfews. I'm hoping that the band kind of looks at that and looks at shows like this or shows like The Man, where they had to cut off some jams early and been like, hopefully they want to give themselves that room to be able to explore these improvisational spaces that they're getting to. Yeah. Anyway,
no.
That's my thoughts on the end of this. B, what did you got?
No, they've already played indoors and outdoors and everywhere, so I don't think it's going to change anything. But I just wanted to go back to your comment about creatures and then comparing Tumble. So I'm not quite sure I get that one because 5 out of the 6 tumbles have been over 20 minutes and most of those well over 20 minutes. And I don't know that those have all been the most efficient jams. One of those tumbles is really good. We're going to talk about it here in a minute, but I don't know that the rest of those are the picture of efficiency. So
I didn't say it was the picture of efficiency.
Well,
I said,
but hold on a second.
We're using it last year.
I think it's almost the opposite of creatures. What they're doing with creatures now is they're completely lopping off the jam, and they're not the entire jam, but they're essentially saying, "Hey, we're going to treat this a little bit more as a
connector,
as a quick one." Yeah, as a quick one, just to kind of, and we're going to get in and out. At Tumble, I feel like they're going out every time trying to go deep, and sometimes it hits and sometimes I think more often than not, what you have is the Legend Valley Creatures phenomenon, where you've got out of 26 minutes or 24 minutes, you've got these 4 to 6 minutes that are really good, and this goes all the way back to the Cap version. The Atlanta version does it. You get some really good pieces of that jam, but you also get this really long jam. It's where you also have some arrow effect in there, or whatever it is. But so yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like Creatures is more the opposite of what Tumble is doing this year. But I digress.
I think Creatures has been great in that position. Was used well here. Great set. I can't say anything more about Wisteria. Or I thought the White Lights was fun. It was kind of one of the first versions, like you said, Neal. Gave me a little evoked some of that Legend Valley 21, which was sweet. I thought White Lights was great in that year. It's just sort of a song now that's used as a 5-minute non-core or a quick set closer or whatever it is. But great flow here. Yeah, well, maybe not flow like you guys said, but I loved the set itself, song-wise. I thought it worked out, and the Empress was just gnarly. So as a whole, I just kind of stacked the encore in the end, and good way to end the 2-night run in Portland for a drive down to Philly, huh?
We ready to go? Let's get to the man.
Yeah, man.
The Mann Center for the Performing Arts, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 28th, 2024. A lot going on in this first set. We have an opener. Was this the second opener of the Whales?
Yep.
With a Anywhere is Good Silver Rising, with a very abbreviated Atlas Dogs into a flow down. We get No Rain with a little treat. We get Roger Stevens, OG guitarist.
Stevens.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I said. Of Blind Melon. He played guitar for Blind Melon. Into California Magic. A lot of people have, some strong views about this sit-in here for Matt Quinn of Mount Joy.
Mountain Joy?
Of Mount Joy. Philadelphia's favorite son. Into a Western son. And then some people say a very, very re-listenable Tumble.
The showing, I thought if you're going to get a songy first set, this is an element of it. And then they hit you with a treat. So the Tumble's gorgeous. Your 2-guitar, you get some great melodic work. It gets to a lot of spaces. I don't know if it does as much as some are. I think it's great. At the same time, it's top 10 jam for me, of course. It's sort of maybe missing some parts, but like B said, this is the one. This is the Tumble that stands out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 2 sit-ins here, I want to talk about the No Rain here, because this was really cool to experience, aside from the California Magic, which I thought was not very good. This No Rain, Roger Stevens comes out. He just looks jazzed.
Rogers.
I said Rogers. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Didn't sound
Kev was saying the singular there, it sounded like.
Yeah, it sounded like you said it too. That's the whole joke, Ryan, but go ahead.
Rogers Stevens comes out there. He just
do you hear how difficult it is to add the S to the end of his name while saying the S at the beginning of his last name?
I would like to give a shout out to Rogers Stevens' parents for making him the most difficult name ever.
Yeah,
it's actually just Roger Stevens' parents.
Yeah. So henceforth, we will refer to him as the guitar player from Blind Melon.
The guitar player from Blind Melon.
Everybody can say that.
He comes on stage. He looks so jazzed to be there. Is dancing, is vibing. He's playing off Rick. It was unbelievable to watch. These guys in Goose, when they get to play with someone like Roger Stevens, the guitarist from Blind Melon,
or Matt, or as we'll soon see, Matt Quinn from Mount Joy.
Different because they're not covering a Mount Joy song. Mount Joy's not a big influence on them. They haven't been covering Mount Joy for years.
Philly's favorite son.
But seeing them play with the guitarist from Blind Melon on this song that they've been covering for years, you think back to something like the version from Bend in 2022 when they're jamming it out in such a big way. At the time, I'm sure they're not thinking like someday we're going to play this with the guitarist who originally recorded this song. And seeing them on stage or something like that, again, seeing them share the stage with Vampire Weekend, seeing them share the stage with Trey, all these artists watching the video with Father John Misty, like the artists that they started covering because they loved the song and because they loved the artist, without the thought that someday they're going to play it with us. is really, really cool to see the dream kind of realized in a different way for Cotter, obviously, who is, just recently joined the band and is like, probably like, holy shit, I'm playing No Rain with the guy from Blind Melon. But Rick and Peter and Trevor and Jeff, like getting to play it on stage with him, you could just tell they were all jazzed to be there. And it's amazing when a sit-in like this the energy gets reciprocated from the musician that's sitting in. And so shout out to the guitarist from Blind Melon, who absolutely just like was so excited to be there. It was amazing. And before I wrap up the set, California Magic was not good. It kind of made me not want to listen to Mount Joy ever in my entire life, which doesn't really change anything. But this Tumble, I want to shout out, I'll talk about it again at Arcadia, but shout out to RJ. This is he came up to where we were just vibing out. Nobody has higher vibes at a show than RJ. There are
true.
0 people
Haps
higher
doesn't
vibes.
even
No,
not even close.
not
he's
even
not
close.
the orbit.
Not even. RJ literally just exudes, I'm just happy to be here energy. Like, this is literally the pinnacle. And he came up to where Neal and I were. We were singing along to the last verse of, Tumble. And we were just having a great time. But RJ was like right in front of us. We could see him. He's hard to miss because he's like 8 feet taller than everyone else. But this Tumble was just phenomenal. Building on the theme, Peter kind of locking into that repeating motif, just building around Rick soloing, and glorious, just peak after peak after peak, pure joy. Shout out to Vickers, who, thinks this is jam of the year for whatever reason. We blame him because he's wrong, but this is a phenomenal jam. And credit to them on the re-entry. They don't just pull back into Tumble and end the song. They just attack the ending, as they re-enter. Peter goes in with some synths. Rick continues shredding just in such a nasty way. It's amazing. And this is top tier shit. And this kicks off a 3-song run of the show that's just truly spectacular. But it's all about the No Rain and the Tumble for me in this set.
I'm going to say a couple things I think I said on the day after show, but I have to say them again. This No Rain was really special and then disappointing at the same time, which is kind of interesting to say. But special insofar as they had the guitar player from Blind Melon out there doing it with them, which must have been like a really surreal experience for him, right? You think back to, what was it, like
the guitar player from Blind
1992, 3, 94, whenever that album came out, and they were playing No Rain everywhere, and that was like a huge radio hit, and they were, just going everywhere playing that song. They only played that song, right, in certain situations, but they played it at every show for a really long time. And then, obviously, tragedy, Shannon Hoon dies, and they, the band just stops outright. So they don't play this song forever. And they played it in front of huge crowds. They played it at Woodstock, right? And then this guy just has to retire because this iconic musician has passed away. And then all of a sudden, 20 some odd years later, he's at the Mann Center in Philly, sold out-ish, playing this song. Biggest show that Goose had ever played up until that point. And that must have been really awesome for him, right? It must have been awesome for the guys in the band. It must have also been awesome for him to take a long break from playing that song, which I'm sure he was really sick of at some point in his life, and then go out there and have all that same energy again. So that's amazing and a really cool moment.
Just real quick, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I did
Do
a
it.
quick Google of Rogers Stevens, the guitarist for Blind Melon. He's also an attorney. He's a practicing attorney.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he went from making a shitload of money with Blind Melon to making a shitload of money. Good for him. Awesome. California Magic, not much I want to say about that. Got released on YouTube. Not really sure why. But
Because of sit-in.
well, yeah, I'm aware of that.
Mount Joy is big.
Sometimes sit-ins are good. Sometimes they're not so good. This one was not so good. I maintain that he could not hear himself because that guy is way too good of a singer to have like that kind of outcome.
Please don't let that sit-in color your perception of Mount Joy.
No, I like Mount Joy. I love
yeah.
Mount Joy. I think they're great. And
Yeah.
so
there was clearly some sort of equipment issue or hearing issue.
yeah, I mean, he couldn't hear, and which is fine. But like, I think it's, you got to point that out. And then this Tumble, which is to echo what Ryan was saying. RJ from Osiris was there at that show. He drove us to the show gracefully and let us stay at his house. And this Tumble was absolutely amazing. RJ, of course, all like 6'5" of him, like with a 4-foot vertical jumped all the way up to us from where he was standing. And then we absolutely raged for this. I think there was a Bruce Robinson appearance at some point. It might have been
Yes,
in this tumble.
You're right.
Yeah.
Brief.
There was a brief Bruce Robinson appearance where like there was like a high five and a hug, and then he ran off. But this jam is so good. I'm not going to pull apart this jam other than saying this is another great example of what this band does when they build incredible blissy peaks. And like you just can't help but feel amazing when you listen to this jam. It is the best tumble they've ever played, since the Peach Tumble, obviously. But it's the best tumble they've ever played. Really, really good stuff. And yeah, you should go listen to it if you haven't. Jive, what do you got?
Well, so I agree with the tumble commentary in its entirety. I think I agree with the California Magic commentary in its entirety. Although I don't know. I've never really listened to Mountjoy, so
You should.
You should.
I can't tell if you guys are serious.
No, I'm dead serious. They're a great band.
They're solid.
The thing about the No Rain that I thought about, because yeah, Rogers, you're always going to get the feeling on a sit-in like that with a song like that, yeah, dude's played this song probably 10,000 times, right? So, but at the same time, what I was thinking is, I was kind of thinking, well, wouldn't it be fun for him to jam this out a little bit? Because I bet out of those 10,000 times he's played it straight up, 99.9% of the time, right? I mean, Blind Melon would, there'd be some space there maybe, but nothing like a 15-minute version, nothing with extended improv. So I kind of thought, that was my first thought, was like, oh man, maybe, yeah, having Rogers out here, maybe this is an opportunity to get him on, kind of like with Vampire, same deal with Vampire Weekend, you know what I mean? It's like to jam out a song that maybe the original band doesn't quite jam out. So I was a little surprised and I don't know, maybe slightly disappointed that they didn't, with Goose's history of Blind Melon added onto that. I guess that's also important context. I think I was just a touch disappointed that they didn't take it out there a little bit more with Rogers out there with him.
You reminded me of the second part of what I wanted to say about that No Rain, which is the exciting part was that the guitar player from Blind Melon was there playing with them, which sounded cool. The kind of bummer about it was that the best part of No Rain covers is that Peter plays guitar. And Peter played keys for this, not guitar. And so that was kind of a letdown. So kind of connecting to what you said, Jive, there was no jam attached to this. And then there was no Peter on guitar, which is kind of a letdown. No Rain just didn't do what it normally does when Goose plays it. So that was kind of
you got to highlight Rogers.
All around, pretty great stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but there was a second set to the show.
No kidding.
There was.
Let's talk about it, Kev.
Yeah, it was a 3-song second set, which Jive referred to earlier as maybe an issue time management wise.
This was.
But we got a big, 20-minute hunger site, 20+ minute. In Your Eyes, almost 25 minutes. We'll talk about it, but I go back and listen to more than the hunger site. Redbird, and they encored with Arcadia.
Honestly, the first two songs to me are it's the beginning of an incredible second set here. Hunger Site, In Your Eyes. If they had 30 more minutes, it's gangbusters. This is show of the year just based off of this second set, but they didn't, unfortunately. But this Hunger Site, again, similar to the Fox one, you have this big peak. This is Cotter. This is the Cotter jam, the initial peak jam. Watching him from where we were, some of the places that I was for other shows earlier in the tour, I think pretty much all of them, it was harder to see Cotter just because he has kind of a higher kit in terms of cymbals and drums, and just where I was at the Fox and at Northlands and Portland, it wasn't easy to see him, but I could see him very clearly from where we were. We were Peter's side at the Man, and I just remember watching him during this Hunger Site and being like, holy shit, Cotter's playing his ass off right now. That's like awesome. And just watching him was crazy. And then they get into those last few minutes in that very angular, dissonant, kind of more dark space. explore that, please, Goose. Like, want to see more of this in the fall because this is incredible improv. What they're getting to, this is unique for them. This is new spaces, and they're only kind of touching on it at the end of these Hunger Site jams. But I want to get it, like this dissonance with Peter on piano, more of the mellow side of it as well. It's amazing. And then they go into In Your Eyes, and this song has had some jams in the past. It's been relatively tame. But this is 25 minutes. You get that, I talked about it in the Cleveland Flea. You get that punchy, reverb heavy envelope filter clav from Peter, this exploration. And then the coolest part to me is the way that they go back into In Your Eyes, because it's so smooth and it just feels like such a natural progression of the jam. I remember in the moment being like, wow, this is just a gorgeous peak. And suddenly being like, wait a minute. Like Rick is soloing in Your Eyes again. Like they're soaring back into the song. And that was like a moment to me, like, this is one of the greatest pieces of improvisation Goose has played. Like this is unbelievable. So getting the tumble and this In Your Eyes in the same show is, enough to elevate this to one of the best of the tour on its own.
Ryan, and I've asked this a couple times already, but where do you have this ranked?
Let me double check. Actually, I don't remember off the top of my head where I have this In Your Eyes ranked. Game of the Year playlist.
Well, it's one of the most unbelievable pieces of improv they've ever played, so it's got to be high.
Yep,
that's an extraordinary statement.
I have it at 12 right now, and this is amazing. And Redbird, give it another 10 minutes, it's going to be up there too. This jam starts off, it gets places, it goes so quickly. And then they look at the clock and they decide they want to play a, 15, 17-minute Arcadia encore, whatever it was, and they end it immediately. And Neal and I were talking about after the show, there's like, they end it and Peter plays like an extra note. And it's kind of like I wanted to keep going. Like, oh, that's sad that we have to stop here. And, I don't like a early curfew, but also the band, honestly, quite honestly, this is the one where I really began to like. Before it's like, okay, it's a little earlier. They had to truncate the Empress, but it was still good, and we still got in a solid, 2 sets plus an encore. This is the one that made me think like maybe if there's a 11 o'clock curfew, showtime should be 7 o'clock instead of 7:30. Maybe if there's a 10 o'clock curfew, showtime should be 6 instead of 7:30. Give yourself the extra half hour. Give yourself the extra time that you need. If you want to go on 30 minutes after ticket time, do it like Fish does, where, if curfew's 11, ticket time is 7. Ticket time is not 7:30.
To bring this back to the positive side.
Yes.
Negative Ryan.
I feel some frustration about it though.
Sure.
That's valid at this point.
And so a celebration or a glow up for Goose in the show notes was the biggest show for them to date at the time.
It's true. At the time. For a whole 24 hours.
And you love to see it.
You do love to see it. I mean, the Man is a 14,000 capacity venue. I believe they sold around 12 for this, and that just kind of beat out SPAC in 2023 for the biggest SPAC for the biggest headline show to date. But anyone else want to weigh in on the second set here before we move on?
Hunger Site was great. In Your Eyes was great. Don't know if it was some of the best improv they ever played, but I mean, I got a lot of
really good.
I got a lot of that's all from this jam. That's what I hear in there. Which, like, I love when Goose does that kind of that's all riffing, and is what it is. Very kind of disappointing second set. Like you said, that the end of Redbird was just so heartbreaking, where it was just like, oh man, like.
And I said to you when they started Redbird, I was like, oh, I guess curfew's 11:30.
Yep,
I was like, there's like. It was like 10:30 at that point, right? I was like, oh, there's no way they're starting Redbird with 30 minutes to go until curfew. No, they weren't.
They did.
Non-core that shit. I mean, yeah, it's just, but like, I understand, like, they felt like they had to do an encore.
Right. At that point, though, I would have audibled like a shorter song in the second set and then done the Arcadia encore, but just like anything to not feel like they were just, like kneecapping a really promising jam, which the way they did. But obviously,
I think the obvious play would have been to finish the Redbird and then encore something short.
Sure.
Yeah, or Dawn.
Rock the Casbah, you mean?
Seriously.
Yeah,
That's
we're done.
actually a really good idea. Yeah, really good idea.
It's not a song.
All right. Back to back. Biggest show ever. So June 29th, 2024 from Forest Hills Stadium in Forest Hills, New York, or Queens. Correct?
Queens.
Queens. All right. We got a set one opener, hot tea. Open that shit is what they said this night. Followed by lead up, turn clouds, another ripping Yeti. The late first set, Hot Love and Lazy Poet, first placement outside of the standard, followed by a nice I Would Die for You. So ready. This set doesn't, the tea, it's 20 minutes. It kind of has some good moments for sure, but overall felt like it was kind of a set to catch the people, if you may. Turn clouds, look around this city. I mean, lead up, rockin', post rock kind of vibe, and Yeti and Hot Love, and good throw in a Prince cover and hit them with the So Ready, and it's like we've gotten the fans of New York on side, So that's kind of how I felt there. What do you think?
Well, I
Dude?
just want to jump in here before Ryan and say that this hot tea has some of the most unbelievable improv in this first quarter of this first set that I've ever heard.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. That's just a fact.
Just this set?
Hey, look, I really like I Would Die for You, and I'm happy to see that this is in the multiple plays cover category now. Yeah, we're getting so
rotation.
many kind of we're getting a ton of recycled covers, and we're getting there's some bust outs, but it's all stuff that they've played before for the most part, with just a couple exceptions. So, but not all those are getting multiple plays, and so obviously love this one. I'm happy to see it come back out, and yeah,
There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a solid set. A little bit slow for my taste. You got the very good hot tea. First time it's ever opened a 2-set show. It's opened some festy sets, some 1-set shows before, but this is its first time opening a 2-set Goose concert. And the Digital Sauce Yeti, always a treat. I'd like to, give a shout out to friend of the pod, Connor, who, we could see from our spot during Hot Love, down on the floor. There's nobody who enjoys Hot Love like Connor. And while we're at it, just shout out to our whole crew at the Forest Hills show. Neal, I think you can agree. Like, we had one of the best crews. You get it at these GA venues when you're able to get in early enough and get in with all your friends, and you're able to get a block of seats together. Forgive me if I miss anyone, but my parents, Brendan, Becca, Adam, we had Matt for a minute. We had
Justin.
Justin.
Justin. We had RJ. We had my parents' friend Kyle, one of their oldest friends, who's seen Fish a number of times. This was his first Goose show, and he wants to see Goose again very badly after that one. But this show was amazing in terms of the vibes. I'd like to shout out Neal on this show as well, who drove up to New Haven with Brendan, Becca, and I as soon as the show was over in the pouring rain. Shout out to Neal, the real MVP of June 29th, 2024, who made it possible for us to sleep in and not have to wake up early to get to New Haven the next day because we were very tired at this point.
A shepherd. He was a shepherd.
He was a shepherd. He
Made the
would
drive.
be a shepherd in the late night rain. Anyway, also psyched to see I Would Die for You come up again. Yeah, that's what I got on this set.
You know what's funny is we've talked about the 2 fest sets, the 2 festival shows they've played, 2-set shows, each one.
This is a
And
festival
we've said,
show.
like, oh man, those were such good festival sets. This is like the other side. This is like a festival set, this first set. And
Traditional.
it's, I mean, folks loved it. That's what I have to say about this one. I think if you're kind of on tour with the band, you're kind of like, they were like, where's the stuff I'm looking for? Where's the meat in this set? Because this set really doesn't have any meat to it at all, right? I Would Die for You. Maybe you get like a little bit of a jam in there. The Yeti, you get a little bit of a jam. Hot tea opener, though, I do actually like that. If you're going to do kind of a festy style set, that's pretty cool. But there's no meat to the set. Let's be honest here. This one is
Yep.
for the people who are seeing Goose for their very first time, which there were
Lot of 'em.
definitely like a few thousand at this show. That's what this show was for.
Yep.
So, like, we don't have to sit there and beat this set to death. It wasn't great.
No, we're not. We're not.
Yep.
All right. Set 2, unless Kev's got something.
Nah, go ahead, man.
All right. Set 2. We get another showing of Autumn Crossing here with Travelers Elmeg opener, followed by Thatch, 726, and Dripfield, which we saw to be a nice pairing back in Atlanta, minus the Feel It Now. I mean, yeah, on paper, re-listenability, shit. And then, oh, sorry, a Give It Time Encore, which we've talked about placements for it.
Shoo!
Woof, we
Yeah.
had the landing pad in Atlanta with the second song, second set versus the set closer, but this here was another great space for it. It's a wonderful place to encore, or sorry, another place to place it in the encore. And yeah, I mean, just listening back to Travelers Elmeg, it was pretty impressive for a lot of people, like somebody say like Rick to come out and play this pairing of two songs, which we just talked about the first set, which is sort of that list of songs to captivate and capture the newer fans. And then he comes out with a lot of first time fans and you hit him with, this is the set for the people that were on tour, right? I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travelers Elmeg is what we all chase. And
Autumn Crossing, baby. Autumn Crossing.
got the bigger jam in the Elmeg, which was nice. We didn't get it in Denver, of course, because of it being encore with curfew. Yeah, really pretty good pairing. Wonderful re-listenability, good Thatch. We hit kind of that middle segment of the set and just get a little wild, and then you cool it down with the 726. Kind of a similar style of Dripfield though as Atlanta, just like really short and punchy. And then Give It Time, just a ballad for everyone to sing to. And sure enough, maybe in couple of years, they'll be filling out another place in New York where they'll have 15,000 people all singing it together, which is impressive. So
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool getting to see Travelers Elmeg in this different context.
Yep.
Having the time to let Elmeg breathe a little, get out into the jam, which was really, really cool. Not super adventurous as far as jams go, very 2023 of them. Thatch just working together in that full band motif. Peter really working the delay on the clav. This was the time where he was kind of bending down, kind of tweaking some of the knobs, knobbing, if you will. But the band modulating into this major key, working together, hitting this massive peak and just bliss, like peak after peak after peak, just building it forward. Amazing Thatch. 726 cooling it down. Very, very short Dripfield, given the curfew. Raging, Peter just bopping around the stage as he does. And I feel like Give It Time was like the only encore here. You thought it was going to happen. It was unbelievable. This second set, on paper, again, another one of those sets that you look at that and you're like, wow, that kicks serious ass. Anything else to add here?
The Autumn Crossing was good. Like set list wise, this is a great set. I think the one standout for me was Thatch, and Thatch was pretty great jam. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if great's even the word. It's pretty good jam. There's not a lot of meat in
Great
this
is the
show.
word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I guess it was great, but there's not a lot of, like I said, there's not a lot of meat in this show. And so, as far as what we do here on this podcast, I don't know if there's a lot to pick apart. So I think we should move on to New Haven.
Do it.
It's a revelation.
Neal, this is the main event for you.
It's a
Please.
hallelujah.
Talk. Westville.
This is the
first
main
set.
event. If you were on this last Liga tour, which a whole ton of people were, this was an amazing culmination. Westville is just an amazing place for
revelation.
a band to play.
A hallelujah.
And it was so exciting to be there. Like Ryan said, we got there a day early so we could sleep in the next day, which was really a great choice. Awesome town.
We spent
Obviously,
2.5 hours in line at Sally's.
and we did do that. We did.
Was
do
it
that.
worth it?
No, we didn't.
I'm from Chicago, so I appreciate pizza. I'm not talking about deep dish. I appreciate pizza. Like, is it worth it? Is it that good a pizza?
So Neal doesn't actually know because Vickers ate his pizza.
It's not true. I mean, he ate most of my pizza. I did get some. Is Sally's worth it? No. I would say if you go to New Haven, go to Modern, You don't have to wait in a long line, and you get the more traditional experience. That's the best thing that I can say about that. So,
Sponsorship.
in any case, we're in my home state. It was really great to be there. I love going back to Connecticut. It's a great place. Good city, as some people will say. New Haven, good city, really good city.
Watch
And
out for your eye sockets.
yes, also that.
Watch out.
So,
If you're from New Hampshire and you're driving on the street in New Haven and you run into Neal, watch out.
Yeah. Look out.
yeah. So, friend of the pod, Corey, I ran into him in the street. Just by like happenstance. There was like nobody. It was the streets were
crossing
empty.
the street. Yeah.
And saw
There
Corey,
it was.
and then I started screaming at him from like a bit away and called him a dirty walk. It was bad news. But in any case, let's get into
you deserve that receding hairline comment.
Yeah, no, that's kind of Corey and
You earned it. You earned it.
That is our
Corey.
relationship.
Corey
That's our
is
bond.
always just.
I do love Corey.
He's always just hanging around. You know what I mean?
Corey.
I've run into him,
and he's a truth teller
at a couple different, he was the first person I ran into in Montana, just randomly in a hotel lobby.
Yeah,
it's
amazing how he does that.
He is everywhere.
Yeah, Corey is everywhere. Love Corey. Shout out to Corey. You're a great guy. Sorry I called you a dirty walk in front of, the 7 people that were paying
You're not
attention
sorry.
in New Haven.
Sorry. Don't pretend you're
so
sorry.
Set 1, it's Westville, so you got to have butter rum. So butter rum, Mr. Action, Elizabeth, and then the Rockdale. The Rockdale. This jam, when I heard it in the moment, and so we were with Vickers for this one. We were kind of like tucked in, like right to the center there, and there was a lot of jumping. There was some punching in arms, like where it's just like holy shit. This is like one of those jams when you're there at a show with your friends. You're like, are you hearing this? Holy shit, this is amazing. And I thought it was incredible at the time, in the moment. I thought it was absolutely amazing. And I stand by that. This is my favorite jam that they played this year. And the reason why I think that is because of just how deep the exploration went and just how unafraid the intrepid explorers that are Goose were when they played this jam. And you can disagree with that. And like, I actually wouldn't hold it against you if you disagree, but this is the shit that I love. This is raw. It is angular. It's exploratory. It's dark. And I said it in the moment. I said it after the show, really, but like this is like 1994 Fish, and like I think Jive, I think you said the same thing, where it was just this band is experimenting with sounds that, again, I've said this already like a few times. They just keep getting a little bit darker and a little bit weirder over the course of this tour, and then this is the culmination of all of that
for a little bit longer as well.
Yeah, well, no, they weren't afraid. They didn't walk away from the jam, and that's what this band has historically done. We've talked about these kinds of jams over the last like 2 or 3 years, and then usually what happens is Rick will kind of just ripcord it by doing the thing where he just like kind of strums open strings and then like pulls his finger up the fretboard, and then it's over, right? Didn't happen here, and this jam was just nuts. I heard it the first time, and then we listened to it again after the show, and like I turned to Ryan, I was like, "Wait, that was tonight?" That's just how good this jam is. So I thought it was absolutely incredible. I still think it's incredible. I love it. I think it is the harbinger of great things to come.
Yeah, it's a top 6 jam. That's what I was trying to say. So real quick, just to back up, we were talking about Corey,
wow.
Dillon. That was where I was at, just randomly at a brewery in Dillon, and Corey was there. So anyway, he truly is everywhere. Yeah, the Rockdale's good. Top 6 jam. We talk about the Fish reference. For me, it's always about the Echo, and that was the first big jam where I kind of felt that vibe. The Portland 2022,
2322,
and
322.
Yeah, I feel this one. Well, it's great, and it's very exploratory and has some dark feels, and that there's I don't know if there's like a lack of cohesiveness, or there's something about it that just doesn't. It's what separates it from my number 6 to your number 1. Still think it's a great jam, but I'm missing that piece that pulls it all together and makes it better than everything else.
That's fair. I mean, I have it at number 3 personally. I have it behind Cap Drive and Fiddler's Montavon, not in that order. It's Fiddler's Montavon, Cap Drive, Westville, Rockdale. And to me, it's as you said, Neal. They go into this weird space, and Rick doesn't bail out. Like at the show, I remember I was saying to you and Vickers, I was like, I probably said to you, not Vickers, but I was like, okay, Rick's gonna bail out of this really quick, and then he didn't, and then I kept waiting for him to do it, and then he didn't, and then I was like, wait, we're really doing this. Like this is actually gonna be the jam here. And after these Rockdales we talked about in Kansas City, and we talked about in in Kansas City, and we talked about in Raleigh, these two Rockdales that kind of showed hints at extended improvisation, but were just kind of like the segue. This is it. This is what we've been building to since, March of 2022. And what Peter's doing in this, all over his rig, what Rick's doing, Cotter just continuously driving. Like this is the cohesive, completely evil and out there jamming that we're looking for. And I'm hopeful that we're going to see better examples of this coming into the fall tour. But this Rockdale is unbelievable. This is one of those jams where I said on the day after show, like, I wanted to apologize to the guy that was right in front of me. Because like for the last 10 minutes, I was just like cackling like an insane person with the light at what was going on. And yeah, this was unbelievable. And anybody who thinks that Vickers loves Bliss jams,
Find him during a dark jam.
yeah.
Oh, you should have seen him during this one. Holy
he
smokes.
he was more excited than Neal and I were somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Neal, what do you want to say here?
Just a final point on this jam, which is the longer you find yourself able to stay in the briar patch, the closer you get to absolute beauty. So, and that's what this jam is to me.
Whose quote is that, sir?
That's
I have
Neal's.
no idea. I think I just made it up.
Neal just came up with that.
Yeah.
He's away with words.
Anything else about this set? Cool. Second
Trust
set.
the process. Get in it.
Yeah, man. So you're building up with this Rockdale, and then you go into this set 2. You have a Pancakes Milestone 2 Skuck's Life. Shout out to our great friend Haps, the intern, who called this on the second note, which is
Unbelievable.
fucking incredible.
Vibes.
Called it. I don't know how he did it, but he did. And then back
Vibes.
into a Pancakes that has an excellent jam on the back half here. You get a little bit of like a reggae jam into extended jam after that. So that was really, really good. And then you kind of get some shortened versions of Everything Must Go, This Old Sea, and Empress of Organos, which was like a little disappointing. You were kind of expecting more jam after like 2 really awesome jams. And I think, B, this is kind of your point about this set. So like I kind of stole your thunder a little bit there, but I'll let you kind of expand on that. And then you get an amazing Praise You encore, which to me, I was wondering when they were actually going to play it, because this has showed up on the set list for tour enders a couple times and hasn't been played. And then they finally played it. And man, this was incredibly joyful. I think for me, it was like super emotional. It's the longest like bit of tour I've ever done of Goose was 5 shows in a row. I'm a real hardcore tour guy. But for me, I mean, it was a long 6 days. It really was a long 6 days. And it was nice to high five my friends and give out hugs during this one. It felt really good. And it was a great end to the tour.
Just
really
truly,
That's
blood,
what I
sweat,
gotta
and
say about this
tears
set.
over those 6 days. Yeah. Well, it's
Grueling. Yeah.
It's no stroking to finish it off.
Thank God.
But
Neal's
they will
favorite.
praise you instead. It's another form of it, praise.
If anybody follows this pod, everybody knows that Neal's favorite cover of Goose is the Clarence Carter classic "Strokin'."
Yeah, not Strokin'. That's my favorite cover of Goose. Anything but that. But
I thought this was a good set. Yeah, good set coming off the Rockdale. The Pancakes has a lot of the definitely the meat here. Everything Must Go. Just it's sort of in the middle there, and then another short C, unfortunately, with Empress. I think it kind of ended, but yeah, Rockdale and Pancakes both have a ton of great stuff, and it was cool to see a Praise You bust out, and just a fucking great tour. I mean, They just
Yeah, man.
when we talk about it at the end, that's another thing. I think, you know, Peter Positivity rap obviously is one thing, but he was able to get the crew shout out here, and shout out to the crew for real and everybody that worked hard, because that's a busy month for them, and just very impressive. I think on reflection, I can only state that there was a lot of unexpected moments and a lot of things that surprised me, and maybe some disappointments, which is always going to happen. But like, I think they also put together 20 really good shows, overall, or 21, like just not many misses, which you don't
Yeah.
get a lot, which is like, it's and cool to see, and quickly ingraining Cotter too into the mix, I think, is what we can also sort of come to the conclusion of, because we talked about mere months ago, what's it going to look like? And shit, it's a success right now. So Goose is still here.
We are here. We are back. That brings us to the end of our summer tour here. That's it. That's 21 shows we've talked about in the last 2 parts of the episode. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. But now it's time, as always, open up the sack. Open up the sack. Let's do it. We've got some Facebook. We've got some Instagram. We've got some Twitter. I don't actually know if we've got some Facebook. I meant to say Twitter first.
Facebook sack?
We've got some people on
I'll check
Twitter.
the Facebook. Yeah.
I will dive in here first, if you guys don't mind. From good friend of the pod, Mads, at Madshooven. I'd like each podcaster to guess how many jams played in the first half of 2024 end up being top 4 seeds in the bracket. So that's top 16. So on our brackets right now, how many of your jams do you think will be in the top 16 at the end of the year? I'm going to say 9.
Yeah, I'd say 9 or 10. I think that I feel like a lot of the start of the year has always boded well for the band. I don't mean to dismiss the latter half, and not to say we're going to get a lot of good music, but I think we've gotten a lot already, really solid jams. And like we said, the top 10 is stacked in a lot of ways, in a good way. There's like sort of configurations that people could have for favoring certain styles or songs or performances of jams, but I think there's 10 to 12 that are right up in there, and 8 to 9 that should stay, if not the 10. So it's sort of,
Indeed, there's an argument to be made that with the energy or the reinvigoration or with the addition of Cotter, that we don't see that fall slump.
That's true too.
That maybe we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
There you go. Kev, how many jams do you think will be in the top 16 at the end of the year?
Ballparking right now, I'd hang right with D and say, somewhere around 10 to 12. Like there's been some really good stuff that's happened. Yeah, B's like saying lower.
He's saying lower?
Yeah. Who saw that one coming?
And so, hey, I'm going to warn you guys right now, like young Ryan over here, the formula dictates, man, you're going to be mad where I end up with this tumble. You're going to ask me to reconsider because
I might.
But I won't.
Dicks.
I'm going to be
set of dicks.
For me, the number is going to be way lower, because for 2 reasons. What are there, 40, at least 40 shows left this year? And we've played what, 25-ish?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just looking at the numbers.
25, yep.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, I think, I think we're bound to have quite a few top jams coming through. Yeah, have there been more great jams coming early? Yeah, I think we have seen that. I do agree with that. But that was also, it was a different. You could say there's a different band too, so we don't know that that's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I'd say, just based on the numbers, I think I'd be surprised if it's not at least 50-50. 8 jams that I've got in my playlist right now end up in the top 16, and 8 new ones coming in the fall.
Yeah, I think I agree with Jive. I think it's on the lower side. I have high hopes for what's going to happen in the fall here. I think what we have coming is a bunch of 3 show runs in cities, which is we haven't really ever had before, this quantity of 3 show runs. So I think that lends itself to them being more comfortable, more rested and relaxed. I think that will lend itself to better jams. I think this band is playing as good as they can right now. So, in my opinion, this is like not like the creative high point for this band, but a creative high point. So my hope is that they continue to ride that wave and then play even better jams in the last half of this year. Time will tell whether or not that happens. So I don't know, maybe less than 8, maybe around 8. But there's been some really, really good playing already this year. So we have to assume that there's more good playing coming. It's not like they're going to forget how to be awesome over this like 2 months.
I think they're going to continue to play well, Neal. I agree with you.
Revitalized.
I think so. Like I'm optimistic about the band right now. And it's not centered around the new drummer. It's centered around the way that they are all playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to say.
Sack us.
Sack
Yeah.
us, Neal.
So this actually did not come through social media, but it came through like a group chat. And I thought it was just a
Ooh.
really fascinating question.
I can guess who this is from.
This is from a pen name, one Michael Vickers.
Michael A.
Like asked this question, and this is really thought provoking, actually, which is this: you have to pick 5 Goose jams to go to a desert island with. What are your 5? And it's not the question is not what are the best 5 Goose jams. It is what are your 5 desert island Goose jams. And I will lead this off because it would only be fair for me to do this because I've actually already heard this question. So I think my 5 are Hosewood from 9/17/20, that Rosewood Heart, because I absolutely love that jam, and that is the jam that made me really it really coalesced all my feelings about this band into one place. And then in 2021, I would say the Swansea Arcadia, because that one also really kind of amped up my feelings about this band. And then from 2022, I would say the San Francisco Wisteria, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, maybe my favorite jam they've ever played. I'm not really sure. You might want to back up a little bit and say the Echo of a Rose from what the heck is the name of the place? Why can't I think of the name of the place?
Portland?
Perry.
No, Perry.
Perry.
Thank you,
Perry.
New York.
Perry, New York. Okay, so I've got 2 more to go. I think from this year specifically, Fiddler's Madavon.
Okay.
That goes on my list because I mean I think that Fiddler's Madavon is way better than people are giving it credit for. It's my
New
number 1
sound,
or
too.
my number 2 jam of the year. Then of course the other one from this year is the Rockdale from Westville, which is absolutely incredible. I just think it's so good. But that's my 5.
Can I address this really quick?
Yeah, please.
So what I would do, and I haven't done it yet, but what I would do if I was on a deserted island, because I many people don't know this. Some of y'all don't know this, but I was recently in Mexico on the beach. If I was on a deserted island, what I would do is I would consult the Vickers Bliss list, and I would take his top 5 Bliss jams, and that's what would come with me.
There you go. So if you're listening to this, check out the Vickers playlist. For me personally, it would be without hesitation. You guys will all be surprised at this. I want the DC Wisteria. That's a jam that I can't live without. 3/8/23, all I need. Again, still on brand. I'm sticking with it. That's a jam that honestly that might be my most listened to jam of all time.
And that's the Camino tease.
Yes.
No. I will take the Swansea Arcadia as well. Great call by Neal. You know, got to balance it out with just a pure Bliss jam for when I need to feel that joy. As well, you know, from 2024, I want the Cap Drive. You know, 4/7/24. That jam to me is just like the epitome of what they've done so far. Like it's just so good. And then 5th. Really a toss up here. This was a tough decision for me, definitely. But I ended up going with, without further ado, I put the Pine Creek All I Need. And for me that's like, you know, I listened to it again last night and it's just relentless to me. Kev, you know, we said, you know, you asked why not give it time. This was jams. You know, if we're taking 5 Goose songs for the rest of my existence, yeah, I probably am dropping out of those 5. I'm probably dropping the Pine Creek All I Need or Give It Time, or a Thatch. But for me, the Pine Creek All I Need, you have that raging first jam, you have that Peter synth solo and second jam. That's a desert island jam for me. Who wants to go next? B.
Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't had any time to think about this. You guys have named some really good jams. A few that I think would probably be on my short list that I haven't heard is Mission Arcadia.
Yep.
I might get some laughs on this one, but if we're talking about just 5 jams and we're going to listen to these 5 jams over and over and over.
Yep.
Right? Hear me out here.
I
You
know
know
where
where
it's going.
Salt
boy.
Cakes is going to be on that list because
Oh,
No, but that's the thing, right? If you're going to listen to 5 jams over and over, don't you want one that is just absolute shredding for a sustained period of time? Then that's the jam that does that more than any other jam.
Don't disagree.
So
I don't disagree.
So that 3 minutes of jamming of shredding.
Oh, it's like 6. It's like 5 or 6 minutes of straight shreddery.
Is that number
Sustained
one
Rick.
on the, is that number one on Sustained Rick
It is.
playlist?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is. All right. Then I'm going to try to hit some different ones. I'm going to go with Traveler's 15-minute jam from Bingo Tour.
Really
I
good.
love it.
Excellent
Love
choice.
it.
Yeah, like that one is probably a grouping of songs that there's something about the positive, just sort of extreme bliss peak, mainly not so much like Rick, it's just Peter on synth, actually, surprisingly, and sort of his jam that he finds out of that. And it's kind of funny because, you know, they sort of are peeling out of Travelers, and then Coach picked the ball late. And so it was like, well, we got to pick up a 15-minute
So that's
jam.
2 songs. So that's 2 of your 5 right there then.
It is, but
That's-
we weren't.
That's one.
Yeah,
That's one. It counts.
Oh,
It's,
that's funny that
yeah.
Ryan would be the one that would be arguing that
Josh, B, don't
that it's
go
not
there.
its own
D,
song.
what are your other 4?
we're gonna
D, what are
keep,
your other 4, please?
yeah. We're gonna keep going with different moments. I'll go Madhavan Moby Madhavan, that nobody's listened, from Legend Valley 21.
Okay, that's different. Moby
That's
is
cheating.
a song. Moby is a song.
That's cheating.
Hey,
So that's
hey,
5.
you're just talking about,
15-minute jam isn't a song. Moby
All right.
is a song.
or we'll go with
So
we'll
is
go-
Dawn, but nobody's
No,
ready
it's
for
not.
that.
Kev, stop
we'll go
it.
with then my first show. I'll probably say Acoustic into Electric Rosewood. So my first
Yeah.
version like that.
Nice.
That was a special
3 more.
one. We're gonna go with, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say Mission Arcadia, which is a great pick. You have to. If we'll go year by year, then, of different songs that people aren't, we will say Trey Hunger Site at Radio City was a really good moment.
Oh, true.
That's one I could listen to quite often. You know, B would say, of course, I love Philly Night 2. Like that's, you know, we're gonna, if B's got maybe 20 songs, that's probably gonna make it on there. 10 to
Philly
20.
Hunger Site?
Yeah, Philly Hunger Site. So I like Philly Hunger Site too a lot. 2023, one that people haven't listed.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna
Sorry,
go
while you're
with-
thinking, I forgot Pittsburgh.
sure.
That was the other one I wanted to mention.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh,
I was
that's a
surprised you
great-
got through it without that.
that's a great pick. 2023. No, I have to go with the San Francisco Wisteria too. You got to add that on there. That's like a must. I think another one. Yeah, and I think the Rockdale that they're playing, that's like a direction of the band I want to see right now. If we're talking present, what I have, I want that disjointed spaces, break it all down, make a lot of sound, be all over the place, and yeah, a lot of hope for this year.
There we
And
go.
then
D, roll
I'll
us
go
into
into
your
my
sack.
sack. Yeah.
it.
So my sack is from, we're gonna go with a new member of Goose Twitter here. He's got 1 follower. That's me. It's the Digital Sauce is his handle. At El Goose is loose. And his sack is, can you talk more about me? Thanks. So all I can say is, and I'm sure others can echo it, we can just build into the next one, but we can't be more excited to talk about the sauce more throughout this year. And actually, we have friend of the pod, Brendan Dunn, B, saying, if you made, quote, digital sauce part of a drinking game for part 1, then you might not live. As a lot of us on this can attest, it got saucy. So,
It's a lot of sauce.
yeah.
Just follow the sauce. Just
There we
follow
go.
the sauce.
Yeah, go follow the digital sauce. Al Goose is loose if you're still listening, and let's get more digital sauce this year.
There we go. B, Kev, which one of you guys wants to go next?
Super friend of the pod, 6 round 7, Adam, has a question. Is the fall tour going to be in support of an album, a new album? And man, all I can say is, Jesus Christ, I hope so.
So, actually, Kev, on the point of that, we did receive a message today from podcast Harry and Dean's 5 Faves. They just interviewed D. James Goodwin, and they sent us a message. Thank you guys for reaching out on Instagram. They just interviewed D. James Goodwin, who talked about what's upcoming with Goose and how it is, what we've heard, a double album. But guys, go check out that podcast. Just came out recently.
Breaking some fucking news, man.
Bringing back the curtain. This message came through while we were recording this podcast.
Wow.
So Harry and Dean did pick the right moment to message AAP Goose Pod on Instagram. B,
I'm so glad I picked that question. Holy moly.
Good question. B, would you like to wrap up the sack here for us?
Give us a happy ending, bro.
So I don't have any sack questions directly in front of me.
I sent you a link.
But I want.
All right.
Here's what I want to do. Let's take questions from each other.
No, okay. B,
I've got one.
there you go.
I've got one. If you don't have one,
yeah.
I have one double album. What?
yes,
All right.
a double album. What does that even mean? Like, is it like
Means
a
lot
double
of
album
songs.
in like the 70s, 80s context of like 2 LPs, or
Who
like
knows?
Yes.
Who knows?
That would be my guess.
How much vinyl is Kev gonna buy? That is
Yeah.
the question.
yeah.
Kev is reformed,
Neal,
and he's only
Neal.
going to buy the standard black version.
Neal, take us through it.
Oh yeah. So this is from Nick Kitson, who says Westville Rockdale ! #, let Neal cook. To which I say, fucking hell yeah.
There we go. Let Neal cook.
I just had to
Folks,
say that one part.
Folks, thank you
It's
so
been
much
real.
for listening to this episode.
Why are you
Always
trying to
Almost
wrap
There.
this up? We have so
This
much more time.
This is the end of our episode. It's been a while. It's been an amazing 11 shows here on the back half of Summer Tour. We all cannot wait for September 1st when Goose comes back at Holmdel, New Jersey. Of course, if you are going to shows at all this fall in between Holmdel and Austin for New Year's, please let us know. DM us on socials if you would like to join us on a day after show. We are always looking for guests. It's going to be amazing. We'll be live after every single show coming up this fall. It's going to be amazing.
It's amazing.
We'll all be at some shows except for B, I guess. Maybe Kev. Not sure yet. But it's going to be an amazing fall. We're going to have a blast. And just we want to thank all of you. As always, thank you for listening to this episode of Always Almost There. It's been a pleasure. We hope you enjoyed this analysis, this discourse, this nonsense, if you will.
It's a hallelujah.
It is a revelation. It is a hallelujah. Thank you, Kev. It was also Hollywood Nights.
It's Hollywood.
Hollywood Nights.
We'll see you guys on September 2nd at 3:30 p.m. Eastern for our first day after show of Fall Tour. Have a phenomenal rest of your day or night or afternoon or morning or whenever you're listening to this. We'll see you next time. Thank you.